to the open session of our National School District Governing Board meeting. And I'm going to ask you to give your attention. I didn't do the, I forgot to do the name. Should I do it now?
Yes.
Okay, we're starting. All right. But if you will pay attention to Mr. Eduardo Pimentel Perez, he will be leading us in our pledge.
Hi, my name is Eduardo and I will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Put your right hand over your hearts. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very nice. Will you please take roll call?
Ms. Sarmiento? Here. Ms. Castañeda?
Present.
Ms. Parra?
Present.
Ms. Gates?
Present. All right. Item 5 is presentations. And 5A is presentation by Rancho de la Nación school students led by Principal Stephanie Coleman.
Okay. Good evening, esteemed cabinet, executive cabinet, families. My name is Stephanie Conlon Diaz, and I'm the principal of Rancho de la Nación. And it is my great honor to have our students here with us today. We have a great presentation for you, a project that we're very excited to present to everyone. And I'm going to let them take over so that they can show you all the hard work that they've been doing in their 1st and 6th grade classes. So I'll let them go ahead and take it away.
Hi, my name is Isaac, and I am a 6th grader at Rancho de la Nación. As a part of our Reading Buddies program, every week we have the opportunity to go and work with our 1st grade buddies. When we first started at the beginning of the school year, you would go into the classroom and help them read their library books, get to know them better, and even read and annotate information text together, like the one you see here about tarantulas. In the past few weeks, we have been able to do even more.
Hi, my name is Emma, and I am a 1st grader at Rancho de la Nación. And I am happy to talk about how my 6th grade reading buddy makes math fun. The 6th grade reading buddy taught us a math game called Pig. In this game, we have a whiteboard and we roll the dice 3 times. And we have to add the numbers. The person who has the biggest number wins. It helps us add numbers faster and makes math fun. my name is Kelly and I'm also a sixth grader at Rancho. The game Pig that Emma described is a math game that we first learned and played in our sixth grade class. You can see the video right here. When we first learned that we would play math games with our first grade buddies, we needed to adapt the games for their level. They had so much fun learning how to play the game and we had to learn how to describe it to them. It was a real challenge for us. Seeing our buddies add the numbers and use mental math has been very rewarding.
Hi, my name is Layla and I am a first grader at Rancho 2. Working with our sixth grade buddies has been great. Each week when we read and play the math games, we get to talk and laugh with our buddies, but also learn. My reading gets better each week and my adding is faster each time too. The first time we played Peg, it was a little confusing, but then it got easier and I can't wait to keep learning more.
Hi, my name is Derek and I am one of the sixth grade buddies as well. As you can see, extending the learning from reading buddies to also involving math games has been a great opportunity, not only for our first grade buddies, but also for us. It teaches us to be patient, walk them through the steps, and problem solve when they may not get it right the first time. It also strengthens our school community because they know they can count on us as role models too. We have seen our buddies get better and faster at adding, and I look forward to the next math game we can teach them very soon. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Thank you very much.
Don't sit down yet. Here comes Trustee Sarmiento.
Have something for you. Let's see, I don't know what order these are in. So where's Kelly? Kelly, this is for you. I want you to go stand up here. Thank you. Next we have Derek. Here you go, Derek. Here. Isaac. Uriel. There we go. And Emma. Let's go. And Layla. Stand up here with your friends. Let's get a picture.
And you might also recognize the author of those books that Trustee Sarmiento just gave you, Matt de la Pena. He is an award-winning famous author that was born and raised here in National City. We're very proud to, yes, at Lincoln Acres.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you, first graders, for letting the sixth graders come. 5B is to recognize Arlinda Capola, Rancho de la Nacion School, as a National School District Shine volunteer. And again, Principal Conlon.
Good evening again, esteemed members of the board, executive cabinet, and families and guests. It is a great honor tonight to recognize a wonderful person who has made a great impact on our Rancho de la Nacion family. Our volunteer of the year is Arlinda Tafoya, and now I'll switch over to Spanish so that we can ensure that she does understand our gratitude for her. So Arlinda, if you could come on up. Es un gran honor para reconocer a nuestra voluntaria del año, la señora Arlinda. No solo ha sido una abuelita activa en nuestra escuela, sino que también ha desempeñado un papel vital como miembro de la mesa directiva del PTA. Su dedicación y pasión ayudaron a restablecer el PTA de la escuela. Su dedicación y pasión ayudaron en restablecer el PTA, dando voz a las familias y fortaleciendo el sentimiento de la comunidad. Es la orgullosa abuelita de Eduardo, que aquí ya lo miraron hoy al principio de la junta, y este momento refleja perfectamente cómo la familia y la escuela se unen ahí en Rancho. Quiero agradecer todo el trabajo y todo lo que ella aporta a nuestra escuela y su dedicación a nuestro PTA y todo lo que hace. Se da su tiempo, está ahí en las mañanas, cuando casi no teníamos PTA, ella dio su tiempo de voluntarias, que se lo agradecemos muchísimo. Sé que no es fácil, sé que siempre está tratando de apoyar la escuela, que vengan más papás y siempre da por su tiempo y como le digo, es abuelita. Es que muchísimas gracias por todo su tiempo que da, por todo su apoyo y como nuestra voluntaria del año de Rancho de la Nación, Erika.
It's a great honor for me to be the professor of this recognition to you. Señora Como, qué bien está su español, me gusta, me encanta. Señora Capoya, lo voy a hacer en español, luego en inglés. Es un honor para mí, va por parte de toda la mesa directiva, para darle este reconocimiento. Sé que son palabras y son artículos pequeños comparado a todo lo que nos regala para sus nietos. Y este es un honor para mí, este es para usted. Felicidades, este es un regalito. So now it's an honor for me to be on behalf of the Campbell Board and Executive Government to recognize you. You know, it's a little item, but in comparison to what I did to the school. So it's a pleasure for me to be the honor to recognize you this day. Thank you.
Would you like to say
Las
anything?
dos y las tres.
¿Quieres decir algo?
¿Quiere decir algo, señora? Anímese.
Buenas tardes. Más que nada, dar las gracias por reconocer el trabajo, que no soy la única, somos varios los que se encuentran en apoyo, porque tenemos, es lo que se requiere, tener apoyo de los papás, y tenemos una gran directora, que lo que queremos que se den cuenta los papás, y más que nada, gracias por reconocer cada uno del trabajo que hacemos, porque somos varios. Gracias.
All right. 5C is to introduce and welcome the new employees. Dr. Kevin.
I have the pleasure of introducing and welcoming our new employees. We have two today that were unable to make it tonight, but I still would like to read their name, a little bit about themselves. The first one is Grace Arroyo, teacher at Rancho de la Nacion. Ms. Arroyo completed her student teaching with the Chula Vista Elementary School District, where she also worked as a substitute teacher. She holds a bachelor's degree in liberal studies and a master's degree in education from the University of California, Riverside. Welcome, Ms. Arroyo. Our next new employee is Adil Flores, instructional assistant preschool at Olivewood. Ms. Flores has worked for the CNMI Public Works System and for a notary public corporation. She holds an associate degree in liberal arts and a bachelor's degree in early childhood education from Northern Marianas College. Welcome, Ms. Flores. And welcome to the MSP family.
All right. This is the point where we are getting ready to do all of our business items. You are absolutely welcome to stay and we're happy to have you. If, however, you need to go home because your parents can't stay up late, you know, sometimes you have to get them to bed early, then this is a great time for you to be able to go if you would choose. It's been a privilege to have you here. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Item 6 is public communications. Public communication provides the public with an opportunity to address the board regarding an item on the agenda or other topic. Anyone wishing to address the board shall submit a request for oral communications card. Cards are available near the entrance to the boardroom and are to be submitted to the recording secretary. A member of the public who wishes to address the board on any such matter is limited to 3 minutes for one matter, up to a maximum of 5 minutes for all closed and open session matters. There shall be a limit of 20 minutes for any matter unless such time limit is waived by a majority vote of the board. Members of the public may not yield any time to other speakers. No board action can be taken. Do we have any speakers? Thank you very much. Item 7 is our agenda. 7A, to accept the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any questions? All right, I have a motion to accept the agenda by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Sarmiento. Please vote. All right, item 8, to approve consent agenda routine items of business. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be acted upon in one action by the board. It is understood the superintendent has recommended approval for these items. There will be no discussion prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. All items approved by the board will be deemed considered in full and adopted as recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Any desire to pull or change or discuss? Okay, just checking. I know it says nonsense, but I just want to make sure. Oh, I wanted to make sure that we're okay. Anyway, motion to approve by trustee Sarmiento, second by trustee Lizarraga. Please vote. Item 9 is general functions. 9A is presentation of National School District's work towards good health and well-being by Superintendent Dr. Brady.
Well, good evening, President Gates, trustees, and executive cabinet. I'm excited to be here tonight to share a report that you have in front of you on good health and well-being in the National School District and another way that our school district shines. The board is aware that every year I do a report where I do a deep dig into an area that we want to see how we're doing in, align it to some criteria. And this year, you can see I chose good health and well-being. And while I'm not going to go page by page through the report, I'll let you read it. I do want to just give you a quick overview. I want to share with you some highlights of best practices that we have been building on in our district over the last few years that you've been a part of and you should be very proud of. And then I want to talk a little bit about the Alliance for a Healthier Generation and how they recognize schools across the nation as America's healthiest schools and how we in our school district, our practices align to that. So starting with our vision of exceptionally prepared learners, innovative and compassionate world citizens, we have been working on those outcomes through the work around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And you see number 3 as one of the world goals is good health and well-being. So this report is broken down into several sections of good health and well-being and how it relates in the National School District. So I provide you a background, a purpose and rationale for implementation. I give you some research and a summary of research. Don't worry, not too long of studies to read. Some governing board policies. We also have a wellness policy and a wellness committee in the National School District, which is outlined for you in the report. We have a commitment, and like I said, I'm going to share some highlights of good health and well-being that are being implemented currently. We'll talk a little bit about that Alliance for Healthier Generation, alignment to the America's Healthiest, schools. And then the end of the report talks about implications and opportunities for next steps. So the summary of the research that you'll see is really that having comprehensive health and well-being initiatives in a school district really does improve student health and also academic performance. The board has been committed to this through many policies. You have over 650 policies, and here are the key policies that relate to overarching good health and well-being, from tobacco-free schools to mental health, and even physical education and activity. Our wellness policy can be found on our district website, and there's an appendix that shows some of the brochures for the wellness policy that we hand out at our schools. There's a healthy snack list in there, and there's also healthy fundraising tips, because whoever we partner with, we also want to make sure that we're not promoting candy or some foods that are not aligned to our wellness policy in the interest of fundraising. Some of those highlights that really help us shine starts really in our kitchens. And I know we've had conversations about a central kitchen and scratch cooking, but I do really want to spotlight, we have some amazing CNS workers, child nutrition service workers, that provide our nutritious meals for our students every single day. Thanks to the governing board, we have fresh fruits and vegetables and a daily salad bar. When those aren't eating, we are starting to recollect those and providing an opportunity to share those fruits again so that they don't end up in our landfill. In the bottom corner, you'll see our super salad bar that travels from school to school, so that our students can try fruits and vegetables that they may not have ever tried before, and to really expand their palate. Up above that, in the right-hand corner, our Child Nutrition Services Department also does a farmer's market for our students, where our students get access to local fruits and vegetables, and they are able to use some play money to decide what they want to try and take home, and to share those fruits and vegetables with their families. And then in the center at the top, we continue our healthy eating and nutrition through our Kitchenistas presentations, not just from what our students learn at Olivewood Gardens, but having the kitchen specialistas. I heard that Kitchenistas is a kitchen specialista, and I believe Trustee Lizarraga is one of the inaugural ones. They actually come back and give back to our schools, and they do presentations for our families. So that is an area that we shine through our Child Nutrition Services Department. We have gardens now at each one of our schools, and they continue to grow, pun intended. They're sensory gardens, but also vegetable gardens. Olivewood Gardens is doing the teaching in our learning gardens through our LCAP. That has been money set aside and through a partnership. We have solar power tables that provide a power source in our gardens. And you can see in the top right, Mr. Castillo and Rick Miller there are adding wheelchair accessible garden beds to our gardens as well. We have fresh and clean water. You'll see all of these outlined in the report, and not everything outlined in the report actually made it into the presentation. But in here, you'll see we have hydration stations. Every one of our water fountains has been replaced by a fresh filter hydration station. We have a partnership with BCK, who hires local parents and PTA members, trains them. They are out teaching our students about sustainability, bringing in water bottles. Those are being taught in our classrooms, and also providing an opportunity for sustainability and nutrition. For our special needs, when we talk about social emotional learning, we have been implementing, we have a counselor at every single school. We implement the Sanford Harmony curriculum. We now have calming corners in many of our classrooms. This is one that we saw just this week at at Ivor Harrison at our visit this week. And we have sensory rooms at each of our schools. So when students need a place where they can go and maybe have some quiet time in a soothing setting, you'll see some rooms that are set aside. And now that we have our campus student safety assistants there for continuous hours, we now have supervision that will allow all students at all schools an opportunity for a little break when they need it. I mentioned those solar shade tables, and we're so thankful to Sun Safety for Schools for giving us a very generous grant to purchase these for our school gardens. But shade is also a healthy spotlight. The board has been busy with our bond dollars, our ELAP dollars, approving plans to renovate our playgrounds and providing new play structures that are going in that provide opportunities for shade. Our maintenance and operations department has put in benches. You'll find benches underneath many of the shading mature trees to provide, to take advantage of the natural shade. And you'll find these little umbrella tables scattered around at different schools that not only offer children an opportunity to go outside and do learning outdoors, but also our staff can have lunch in the fresh air outdoor in a shady area at a table. These are those wonderful playgrounds I just mentioned, and we've done a few ribbon cuttings. I heard that Central opened their playground this morning. I was getting lots of pictures sent to me throughout the day. More of these playgrounds going in around the district. Last week, we were excited that we were able to sell $18 million of our bonds on the open markets in our Series C sale. And we got a lower interest rate than our other two bond sales. And we were able to, and a very good rating, and we were able to save the taxpayers of National City a lot of money, or a substantial amount of money for that bond sale. So we're thankful to the community for supporting that bond. And we're putting that money to good use in providing fields that increase physical activity and recreation at our school sites. Of course, safety and our heart safety efforts earned us the first elementary only heart safe district in the nation. We are doing our Red Ribbon Week right now, where our students from the 6th grade roundtable are now working with their principals to not just do no tobacco and drug-free campaigns, but it is Sudden Cardiac Awareness Month for October, and they are refreshing the training for all of our students at the schools as well. And our classified staff got that refresh training from our principals during their classified day, and the certificated will have it at an upcoming staff meeting. We continue to partner to provide health services and bring these health services in front of our parents. If you attended our resource fair at the beginning of the year with Lynette Castañeda and Delilah Gill, also our parent summit this past weekend, or the 5K that was led by our teacher, Ashley Trzynski, and Steven Sanchez, and Berenice Walker. We're really trying, when we bring our partners in, to have that focus be on health and wellness, and definitely something to shine and spotlight. And then finally, that 5K that went from a school dream to a district-wide reality. This year, we were able to partner with the Kiwanis Club to do the bike giveaway to really spotlight how many bikes are being given to our students. So students are out running, they're out biking, they're out walking, and they're hitting that fare of all of our partnerships for health and wellness here in National City. So a lot of great things that are happening. So many great things that we started to take a look at the Alliance for Healthier Generation and some criteria that they put out for readiness to see how ready we might be to apply for recognition as America's healthiest schools. So these are not district-wide recognitions, they're school-based recognitions, and there are 9 categories. If a school qualifies, meaning they can meet all of the criteria and provide evidence in any one of these 9 categories, they can apply for recognition as one of America's healthiest schools. So you'll find in your report, I'm not going to read them all to you, that we went through all of the criteria for these 9 categories and gave them a rating of blue, green, or red. And I'll just give you a quick example. For example, supporting school health services is how well do you provide health services in your main offices? Are the people trained? And do you provide medicine or have health plans for students? That is all done. Every one of those criteria is by our Radies partnership. Every one of our schools could apply. Therefore, they got a blue rating. And you see a few blue ratings up there. When you see a green, for example, implementing a local school wellness policy, we have a very robust wellness policy as a district, but how that's implemented may vary from site to site. So if a school has done the rollout according to the criteria, we may have several schools that could apply in this area too. Therefore, they got a green. And then you'll see a red, bolstering physical education and activity. And you might wonder, why is that red? We are committed to following our state guidelines of 200 minutes every 10 days. Our teachers all follow the state standards for physical education, and our students do get physical education out on those wonderful fields that you saw that were spotlighted. The reason it's red is that for the criteria for the award, you also need to have a mandated curriculum. And at this time, we don't have an adopted curriculum at the district level, and we don't mandate that our teachers teach PE to an adopted curriculum. And so we are going to explore that and have some conversations so that if in the future, if that's something people choose to use, they could apply in this area. But at this time, that's a criteria that we don't have in National School District. So again, a summary, the blue ratings, it's something that we believe all schools are ready to apply for. If it's green, we have it at the district level, but it might vary in implementation from school to school. And a red rating is something that we're still exploring. So at the end of the report, you'll see the next steps. We are looking to continue to share our best practices from school to school, maybe set some clearer level goals at the district level, providing some additional tools. We want to be able to support our schools in providing that evidence-based education curricula, formalizing our response as a district to vaping and tobacco, as a district, promoting staff gratitude and well-being. We think we can bolster some of that in terms of the criteria, continue building on our newly implemented communication tool with parents in talking points, providing some feedback to our principals on their parent engagement efforts to really help align some of those criteria to this America's Healthiest Schools, and then explore that adopting of a district-wide evidence-based PE curriculum. And with that, we are going to check out the 2025 award guide for America's Healthiest Schools. The awards application window opens in January, closes in April, and we expect that all of our schools will be applying, and we will keep you posted. So with that, I just want to see if you have any questions for me.
Trustee DeSandriga.
Thank you. It seems like a great progress is done since I started here on this side of the, not of the parent. But I have 2 questions, Dr. Beatty. So thank you for bringing that. It took us a lot of time to resume everything in one page of next steps. But my questions are the following. The super solid bars, you mentioned that they don't travel from school to school. And some parents ask why it's not an ongoing thing. So there should be a rationale behind it. So I would like you to explain the same thing as farmers market, how often we go, what capacity we need to build more to have it done on a continual basis. So those are the first 2 if you give me my answering, and then I can continue with the question.
I think maybe Dr. Burke can help me with this too, because I know he works closely with Mr. Hansen. But the super salad bar is, you can imagine, you can see a little bit of the picture. It's not just our regular salad bar with common everyday items, but they add, it's almost like a train of salad bars. And so we do invest a considerable amount of money and it takes a lot of additional effort to put those salad bars together. So I think that we don't have the capacity and the funding. A lot of food would go to waste if we were to have that every single day at every single school. But when we do have it, it's like a treat for the students, and they really look forward to trying new things that they haven't had before. And I believe they get it for a whole week at a time, and then they can try things. So they don't have to try everything every day, but then they can try it throughout the week. And then when we started the school farmers markets before COVID at a couple of schools, and they were so popular that we worked to all 10 schools. And again, it's the coordination. It's been done by our nutrition coordinator. And I believe also Holly helps a little bit with that, right? Is that correct, Ms. Bauer, our kitchen manager, CNS manager?
She does.
She also helps with that, maybe. When they bring in the different fruits, they're seasonal. And so the dream is, we always say start small and dream big. So it started at a couple of schools, now it's at all 10 schools. And I know I've heard Mr. Hansen mention he'd love to see that seasonal. And so maybe we can build toward that as well. And I don't think we're there yet, no, but that is something we'd like to do.
We're just gonna provide the audience with the right answers of why we not doing certain things or why we're doing certain things. So thank you for the answer.
Yeah, it's actually a traveling show too, so we don't have the employee capacity to make sure it happens at all the sites every day. But, and to clarify for anyone listening and maybe at home too, it's not a soup or salad bar, it's a super, like super mess, super salad. So there's no messy soups.
Okay, I do want to say I am from Connecticut, and that might be my accent. Super.
The next set of questions is about councils in every school. This is a great asset that we have, and I would like to thank all the boards because, having that council in every school is a great turnout on the government to have a big effort of having it. So they do an outstanding job. They do an amazing job. And coming back to the farmers market, that's how my son tried carrots for the first time. And he loved it. Now he has to ask his carrots on the table. So
a shine moment.
Yeah, shiny moment, yeah. Sensory rooms. So we know that we have, thanks to the feedback of the people and the concern about mental health and how eager we have to provide a mental health. And because it's after COVID, we were devastated and traumatized. And we having some of those behaviors on everybody, not only in children, in everybody. So how accessible will be, because you mentioned also take a break when you need it, but not only for children, but for everybody who needs it. How can we make that happen? Because it's going to be an instructional assistant, it can be you, it can be a teacher, or it can be me. So I can go to school and have a little time out for myself for 15 minutes and go back to work. So how is that going to happen? How that look like?
That is something we have not discussed, and I love that idea. I know that our principals have taken great.
In the back.
Yeah,
so
I think
I just want to see how we can make it happen.
I know that our principals have taken great care to start looking at the lounges and as ways of places to just be pretty and relaxing and having those outdoor tables to eat outside and be able to take a break outside in the shade. But I don't know that we have talked about using the sensory rooms for adults yet, but that's a great idea. And I'm going to bring that forward to a leadership meeting. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So I would like that happen because I would like to be sitting down there as a calm point to myself.
You get to try it out first.
Thank you. Don't you agree?
Just want them to be careful on the swings.
Yeah, I can grab on my shoe. Not jumping on that, please. It's just to calm down, not to get crazy. So, thank you. And I would like to see if we're gonna have the chef salad competition at the end of the school year. So that was a.
Oh, yes, I forgot to mention that, but yes.
So I saw the kids empowered to try what I did. My creations are the best and they were competing each other. We got the best outcome you ever see on a little plate.
Yes.
Having those, so I would like to put it out there. So it might happen, it might happen. I don't know.
Again, so many things that we're, trying to get them all into one report. Thank you for that reminder. That was great as well. And thank you to Mr. Hansen and his team.
Thank you. Last but not least, I see the physical activity and how critical it is before and after we were very sedentary. Now we're becoming more sedentary. So I don't know if that works, but we're becoming less and less active. I'm talking adults, I'm talking children as well. So it increases the amount of obesity rates, chronic diseases, diabetic illnesses. So how are we gonna make, I know this is room for improvement, but there's a way to measure the health of a kid, and that's fitness from results. Do we have that results?
We do have fifth grade PE testing, and we do have results. Dr. Kraft will be presenting some CASP data tonight, but only 5 of our schools will be presenting tonight. And at our next board meeting, the remaining 5 schools will be presenting. I can ask Dr. Kraft to add in some of the PE data if we have it. We can add that into a slide. Yeah, it'll only be fifth grade, but a dipstick measure to see how we're doing over time.
Thank you, because historically, we are number 1, but on more chronic diseases, which is not too good to brag about.
Remember that these are newer playgrounds. We were doing our ribbon cut-ins within the last year. One opened today. Several are calling every day saying, when is my playground going to be open? So we may not be seeing the results yet, but we definitely need to make sure that we're tracking that and monitoring pre-wonderful playgrounds and post, and there's a lot, and post recreational playgrounds.
The data that we can, sorry to interrupt, but data that we can track is the significant increase in our after school and break activities. The participation rates by students is through the roof.
Yes, I think it's doubled, more than doubled.
Double.
I do want to add that, yeah, Mr. Castillo and Mr. Miller, when they were designing these fields, those of you who have come out, there's games that kind of mimic activities, like a video game where the light goes on, you have to hit the light, and you have to run to another part and hit the light. They're not all sports related. Some of them are just physical activities that get kids moving. And that is intentional as well.
Yeah, and I see in every school that every morning they say, go to walk, it relax you, and also it's physical activity. So that's a shout out to the principals and teachers who support us. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Brady, on your presentation. I can tell you had to really condense it, which makes it that much more difficult to be able to present, but always a great job. Thank you. I wanted to piggyback on the super salad bars, not the soup and salad bars. To clarify, it's a super salad bar versus a regular salad bar, correct? Because all school sites have a regular salad bar. This is just to supplement on the regular salad bar that they receive every single day.
Correct.
It's just like pizza day versus a super salad bar day, right? Super salad. Right. I just wanted to make sure that for clarification for those who are out viewing it on, they're not here, because I want to make sure parents know that they are still getting the fruits, vegetables that they are hoping their children will eat outside of the house, that are experiencing those carrots for the first time, because I think it's important, because I think sometimes the children will eat something when their parents are not there because it's more of a chore. When the parents are saying, eat your vegetables, versus, ooh, this is exciting, this is something new, and it's the exposure, yes. So I'm one of those picky eaters, and yes. Well, I'm surprised your son barely ate carrots. I was like,
yeah, I did it.
I was so me too. He's from the Oliver Gardens, and it's like the rule, you have to eat something. And that's where I was like, okay, I can't be one of those. And being at the Oliver Gardens, that for all those field trips, I had to do one of those, the pledge that you have to eat something for the first time. And I'm like, okay, I am a chaperone. I have to eat. And I cannot make a face. I have to eat this. And I got, here I go. So yes, I did eat all of the vegetables, and you learn, and good girl. I was a good girl. So nonetheless, that's where you do expose the children to all of those. So I'm glad that we are still having the salad bars at all the school sites. And then one thing that we did have a conversation about previous was for the farmers markets, we were gonna make, recipes available, that were, given at the Olive Garden field trip. Is that something that we're, offering for the,
I cannot answer that, but I will get that answer for you, and we will make sure that feedback gets back to Mr. Hanson and his team. I'm sure that will be welcome with open arms, because we do want the kids to look at those recipes and then select the fruits and vegetables that they can go home and make some of those things as well. And you mentioned Olivewood Gardens. What I didn't mention is that throughout our partnership with Olivewood Gardens, they have periodically grown food at Olivewood Gardens that then we serve to our students on our daily salad bar, such as snap peas and cherry tomatoes and things like that. So we're constantly talking with them about opportunities like that. So we will ask for those simple recipes that the students can get the ingredients at theirs. And it may be happening, I'll let you know. Not sure.
I appreciate it. Yes, I appreciate that, 'cause that's important for us to be able to carry that through. I know that it happens, like my children have been exposed to so much and I'm thinking, okay, we'll have that. And I just have to go with the flow, but have to expose our children and have a broader palette. So I'm trying. So thank you.
And I didn't mention that Trustee Betancourt Castaneda was at the 5K and brought the AED. So we're continuing to build our practices, not just when we're here in our sites, but also when we're out in the community.
I will say, from personal experience, there's nothing better than popping a garden-grown, just picked cherry tomato off the vine and popping it in your mouth and having the thing burst. And those experiences that we work on to give our students, that it matters. And so, thank you for that. I have two questions. Of course, I might get more, but when it comes to those items and our the train idea, is there a possibility for a specialty item of the week versus necessarily taking the whole train? That maybe, I don't know, jicama or blueberries or something that is.
Dinosaur kale? Dinosaur kale for the first time?
I mean, right, so that, because kale, okay, so.
You could be called a surprise item. I wonder what it's gonna
There you
be.
go, but something that.
For
that is
teachers
there
and
for the
principals
week
too?
For students to have that opportunity, for staff to have that opportunity.
You mean the regular salad bar?
Why not?
Why not?
If, at least, I mean, I don't know it.
This is crazy, man. This is getting too
I know.
crazy. I think we can do
We'll call John.
it. Yeah, I think we can do it.
Can you tell us?
Just call John, yeah.
Yeah, well, we had a program for a little while where that was being done, different foods being brought in for us to give to our classes. And it was like, kids had never had jicama. And so then to discuss the fact that it doesn't really taste like you're eating a lot, but the fact that it like pops a little bit and it's watery and it's got a different texture, like we could have all kinds of great conversations about food, and it's not the same as getting a whole bunch of options, but who knows? I just thought I'd ask.
I'll share with John and we'll talk about it tomorrow, I'm sure.
And then another thing, regarding the PE curriculum.
Yes.
Have we talked to our teachers about the desire for a PE curriculum? Because I know that there are different needs, of course, at different grade levels. And this is one of those things we've been asked to do for a long time. And sometimes we have our own patterns and we know what's meeting kids' needs, we know what they enjoy, we know what meets standards. And I've seen a couple PE curriculums that honestly were less than and that were stifling. But I would hope there are good PE curriculums out there too. I'm wondering if we've talked to our educators yet about whether this is desire on their part before we bring that to consultation and discussion. I was wondering.
Absolutely. So couple of things. I see Dr. Kraft already moved her microphone closer to her so that she could weigh in on this. But when you look at the criteria, there's 9 categories. And although we're red in the PE, we do not need to have all 9 categories to apply for the award. All you need is to meet the criteria within one single category of the 9 to be recognized as one of America's healthiest schools. So we're not working to fill that one last little criteria to make sure that we can apply for an award. And it's really not about an award, it's about the amazing things. And like you said, we teach kids to standards. And sometimes what we do may be much better than any curriculum we can buy. Sometimes something like this will spark an idea that, oh, well, we don't have a curriculum, but maybe the teachers want it. And so it would start with a conversation first, to explore first what's out there. Do you want to talk about this? It's not something that's on our roadmap right now. We still have the rest of our science adoption. We have our social studies adoption before we would adopt anything that's PE related. But we could buy something that's supplemental for if people said, no, we really want something like that. And that might meet the criteria here as well. But again, it's not going to preclude us, but it is red because we don't mandate that at this time. And if we did adopt and say this is your curriculum, it would not preclude an educator from doing that great basketball lesson that they knew they don't have to teach a curriculum page to page, just like they don't have to teach the benchmark or UCI curriculum faithfully, because we teach kids. We teach kids to standards.
Thank you. Dr. Kraft.
I think you covered it, but I think one of the key pieces is the process of an adoption doesn't require the implementation piece of the resource. So if it requires the adoption, we follow the same protocol that we have for every adoption that the state guidelines give us, and which is a majority of the teachers would be part of the group. They would be the decision maker. We would do piloting, all of those protocols and processes that we've done with everyone. So it would never be outside of that scope, because we would have to technically bring it to you and ask you to adopt it. If you adopted it, then I would want to make sure that it followed the guidelines of the state. So that's, but again, we do have other curriculum that is in slot that we've got to make sure that teachers have, and so this will be down the road.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 9B is to approve the quarterly report of the San Diego County Office of Education on Williams complaints. Do I have a motion?
Second the motion.
All right. And we're going to hear from Dr. Bree.
So typically you don't see this outside of consent because we typically don't have any complaints. This quarter, we did receive 5 submissions for Williams complaints. One of them did not meet the criteria to be a Williams complaint. So that's why you only see 4 official ones on your list. You can see we have a 30-day window to resolve the issues and 45 days to respond back. And to resolve the issue, you don't have to fix it completely. What we need to do is make sure that we don't have an imminent safety issue. And you can see in your agenda that we do not have any urgent safety issues. And 2 of them are not accurate in what was written in the actual complaint. So we'll be responding accordingly and they are due on November 9th. But I just wanted you to be aware that we did receive those 4 or 5 complaints.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, so when we respond to the people that have submitted the complaints, I'll send the response that I sent them to the board in your weekly update. Numbers 1 and 2 are the wheelchair access. And for those, those are in progress, and those are things that will be completed with our bond projects. And so you'll get lots and lots of updates on those along the way.
All right. So I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Lizarraga. Please vote. Am I allowed to make a random but on point comment? We want to encourage questioning like this regarding appropriate access and safety issues. It matters. And so to our community, if you see things that you wonder about, please ask. And please bring that to our attention. Please do the emailing. Please do the stop in at the principal's offices. As you can see, there are some things that we do have in process that you may not know about, and we are happy to explain those things. We have heard about some of our playgrounds. If you know, yes, some of our playgrounds are brand new, and some of them are definitely not brand new. They're in process. And so please always ask, always bring it to our attention, and know that there are things that we are working on because we know our kids need our best. So thank you for raising these concerns. Item 9C, to amend employment agreement with Olga Maritza-Kepin, PhD, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Dr. Brady?
Yes, we're hoping that the board will take action tonight to extend Dr. Kepin's contract for another 3 years to begin at the conclusion of this current contract, which will sunset on June 30th. So thank you for your consideration.
Any questions? Okay, I have a motion to amend by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Sarmiento. Please vote. All right. Item 10 is educational services. Item 10A, a presentation on California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress Results. Dr. Kraft and principals.
You guys come up and join me. Now, let's see. Good evening, Board President, trustees, Executive Cabinet. It is my pleasure to be up here to present the 2024. I'm always so soft-spoken. 2024 CASP data. I'm excited to have our 5 of our principals here today to share their exciting data from their site, moments of shine and areas that they're looking at to work on this year. And these 5, no one got wrangled in. They actually volunteered for this session. And as Dr. Brady earlier noted, that we would have this is one of 2 presentations on CASP. I will be presenting district data this time.
I would focus more around comparative data. And then the next time I'll be digging into our district data and looking at our target groups. So with that, on this chart here, you will see that the 2024 data on the left and the right is our overall performance in English language arts and math. This year, we followed the trend of California in kind of making very little movement. California overall was what you would consider kind of flat data. There was about a 0.5% differential between last year's performance and ours. For us, there was a 0.33 in math, a slight decline, and a 0.202 in ELA comparatively. And so this trend was also seen across the larger state data. And so we also had some outliers that noted this overall data. Last year, we did have a turnover of teachers, and about 3/4 of our new teachers were in testing grades, new to the grade, new to the testing, and all of that environment. And so we did play, although it's not official, but we did want to see what, if we controlled for that variable, what might it look like? And in controlling for that variable, we saw about a 1.52% increase in the ELA and about a 2% in math. And I wanted to do that because we do have a lot of teachers working hard that are seasoned and that are making those gains, and then everything gets put in together. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that, although our official scores are our official scores. The other piece that I wanted to bring your attention to was our cohort data. If you're taking a look on the left chart, it's our English language arts data, and you'll see it's over 3 years. So I'd like to ask the board to look at it vertically in the ELA. And if you take a look vertically, looking at a 3-year trend, you're seeing that we're trending at about 31.3%, about 8.7% shy of where we were pre-pandemic, but we're closing the gap. We're moving in the right direction. If you look to the right, the same chart looks, and we're looking vertically at it, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24. Again, you'll be looking across the grade levels. And again, we're seeing the trend prior to the pandemic. We were about 7 points higher. I know I've explained to you that you really can't compare the tests because the one test was much larger pre-pandemic, and then when we went to the pandemic, they shrank the test. And so the impact of getting an answer incorrect in a smaller test system can have, a significant impact in your scores. And so looking at that, even though we can't compare, we're looking at about a 3-year trend, about 24.29, and looking to hopefully close the gap in the next couple of years. If you'll go back to the chart on your left, I guess, for the ELA, you'll see that there are colors and they're done vertically. And this is looking at our trend data. And if you're looking at trend data, you're looking at match kids. These are the same groups of kids. The test is different and the standards are different. And as you see, our third graders, this is the percent of students that met or exceeded in CAS BLA. So in third grade, we had about 28.84 students meet or exceed, and then we saw an increase when they hit fourth grade. And you'll see that same trend going from our third graders in 21-22 to now that are now our fifth graders.
I'm just clarifying, so we're following the grades for the third to fourth transition, and the sky blue, so that we're following the same names, the same
kids,
cohort of kids.
Match
Yeah,
kids.
just-
Yes.
So they started at met or exceed about 22.7, ending in fifth grade last year at 28.32, again, an upward trend. And then you can see the fourth graders of 21, 22, and mind you, there was some dynamics still happening in 21, 22. We were at 38.88, and we got up to 38.2. I think it's interesting, it's important to note that as the students go up in grades, the cognitive load, the demand on what they need to be able to produce independently increases significantly. Again, looking at the chart on the right with the math, this again is the percentage of met and exceed by grade levels. We don't quite see the same trend in math as we do in ELA, and it's in those middle grades. And so if you're looking at third grade to fourth grade, we see the first hit, and then from fourth to fifth, we see a significant, we know historically, we've seen fifth grade being quite an issue overall across the state, not just in our district. But then in sixth grade, we see an uptick on those scores. So we're exploring what are the root causes of those pieces. We're working very closely with our leadership team. I will note that the math does, just like ELA, become more demanding and more complex, but it also becomes more language-based. And that is a factor that we know is playing out. So it is often said that it's challenging for our classroom teachers, and I applaud them because when they are working with our students, they're not only teaching content, but for many of our students, they're also teaching in the language of English to do that. Well, that happens to kids, but it also happens to teachers. So the teachers have that double demand also, but in math, they have a third, it's the trifecta. So it's not just I'm learning language, but you're learning the nuances of how language is spoken mathematically. And there can be a slight nuance variation that you may not necessarily pick up right away when the question is being asked, and you may answer it incorrectly. And so that is, and you'll hear from many of our principals, an area that we are targeting this year to support our English learners. We also think that will support all students because mathematical language is new language, right? So I'm going to date myself. Once upon a time, there used to be similar school ranks in performance data. And I think it's important to recognize that there was a concept behind LCFF in the way that they were allocating funding, recognizing the impacts and the demands it takes based on varying populations. And so we are a district, and so they determined that by looking at unduplicated counts of students. These are students that they deemed would require additional support to achieve grade level achievement. And so these were students that they felt that were historically challenged in this area. One of those target groups are English learners. Another of those target groups are socioeconomically disadvantaged. And then the third is the foster youth homeless group. And so if a student hits one of those criteria, then they would only count once, hence unduplicated, but they would count as a percentage in which the calculation of funding for our district, it would trigger these additional grants to provide additional supports. And so the way that LCFF works is that you'll get the first level of a grant supplemental when you have a certain percentage, I believe it's under 50%, don't quote me on that, for unduplicated. If you exceed, I believe, 65%, you get an additional funding on that called concentration. So supplemental concentration monies is given to schools, and its sole purpose, it is deemed for this funding to increase and improve services for these unduplicated groups. So given that criteria, given the recognition that it exists, I thought it was really important for us to look at it broadly. How do we perform with like schools? And so I have to give a shout out to Ricky Gill and my assistant Veronica Calzada. They're probably cross-eyed. We went into CalPads and we downloaded all that data, and then we got the CDE to release their performance data, And so there was a lot of numbers and crunching. But we were able to really identify schools that match our criteria. And so we have an 88.9%, 89% unduplicated count. In addition, we have 69% of our students identifying as English learners, identified as English learners. And so, remember I talked about that supplemental concentration, those things trigger those fundings for those additional supports. So we went searching through the state of California to match the size of our school district, whether it was a K-6, we only wanted to look at those, the same grade kind of patterns, because you'll have a lot of unified. And we wanted to make sure, what do we look like? So you'll see in the first 3 rows, I looked at schools, our neighbor schools that were somewhat close to us in terms of they're in San Diego, they are K-8s, so that is a game changer. We did take away the 7th and 8th grade percentages while we were calculating this, because it changes the criteria. But for example, if you're looking at Cajon, yes, it's a much larger district than us, but it's unduplicated is at 78.98. I believe that's the closest to us right now in terms of that. And that's a 10% difference, which is significant when you're talking about services. And so in looking at how their 3rd through 6th performed, it was about 29.86 for ELA. And you can see across the board where they were performing in ELA by grade level. Our teachers are pretty strong, pretty phenomenal. And so as you can see, you can go back and look down. But again, those EL populations and that unduplicated count does change the dynamics of what happens in the classroom and the demands of that. And so the closest school that we could find, and there are a couple more that I'll bring next time, was way up in Central California, North Monterey County. And you can see they have an 87.5, 55% unduplicated count. And they still have less English learners than we do, 48.75. And they performed at about 22% overall ELA. And as you compare, our teachers and our 6th grade students are almost double in performance in 6th grade, and about 7% in 5th. And so you're seeing that, we are outperforming similar schools. Same thing here in the math comparison. Math has definitely been a challenge across the state. You will see that that's an issue. But again, looking at the 3 bottom districts, as you're looking at our cohort data, not cohort, 3rd, 4th grade level data, plus overall data, there's a trend that we noticed as we were looking at the percentage of students that met and exceed. And as you can see, we are, if you're looking 3rd through 6th at NSD, we're increasing. As it becomes more demanding and more complex, we're increasing the percentage of students meeting and exceeding. And we didn't find that trend in the other districts that we were looking at comparatively. This helps us to, 1, recognize what we are doing well and reinforce that, but also to start exploring how might we go further. And if we can find trends in other districts that are showing maybe more, that are very similar to us, that are showing the growth pattern, what might we learn from there and be able to implement and support our teachers in doing the work they do. So this is kind of your overall phase 1 of the district data. And then now I will turn it over to Alfonso de Negre, who is our principal at El Plano.
Good evening. I'll start off our presentation for school data. What I have here, we broke down the data into the first slide you'll see is broken down by grade level, and then the first column is our percentage of met or exceeded, followed by nearly met, and then not met. So you can see how the breakdown for English language arts and for math look by grade level. The bottom kind of reflects our growth. And then you'll see on the far right is 21-22. The darker blue color is 22-23, and then the yellow is our last year or most recent. So you can see we were at 27 three years ago to 23 the previous year, and last year we're back to 26%. So we've made some good growth in English language arts. And then math, you can see that we've grown from 20% back in 21-22. And then this last year, we're up to 25%. So we're making some good growth, and we're happy to see that. So some just overall analysis that we've done also, where we really want to focus is we can see here our multilingual learners. We're still scoring quite a bit less than the rest of our school population, but what we're optimistic about is we see our nearly Mets, and those numbers are actually look very promising, with 31% in English language arts that are almost to proficient. And then in math, we can see we have 25% of our multilingual learners who are almost at proficient. So we're really having a big focus on them this year. And then we looked at our students with disabilities in English language arts and in math. And again, we put in a lot of focus into them this year. Just kind of some bright spots. When we looked at our data, our really sixth grade is where we shine when it comes to language arts, with 29% of our students meeting or exceeding standard. With our third graders, we had 39% meeting or exceeding in math, which is great. And then I was mentioning growth in math. We went from 20% in 21-22 to 25% this last school year, which we're very optimistic about. And again, just going over our multilingual students, that while we have 12% meeting or exceeding, we have another 25% that are really close to moving into that next band. And here are some of the things that we're going to be focusing on this year. We're determined to have all of our students grow. We use a lot of panorama data that we talk about during our data discussions to track and progress monitor our students. We also do have a school-wide focus on reading comprehension, which is our Tier 1 focus that we talked about during our MTSS meetings. And then also we have a strong focus for language arts instruction. And we have a lot of interventions that we're focusing on to make sure that we're trying to close that gap for all of our students. And now we'll pass it over to Ira Harbison.
Good evening, members of Board, Executive Cabinet. Courtney Quinn, proud principal, Ira Harbison. Let me go ahead and talk about some of the data that you see in front of you. Our grade data is going to be our English data, and then we'll go ahead and have our math data in the blue. When it comes to our ELA data, you can go ahead and see that for the 23-24 school year, we had 38.86% exceeding or meeting when it comes to that ELA data. For the math data right below that on your left-hand side, you'll see that we had 29.9% school-wide exceeding or meeting that data as well. If you look over to the right, you will see that when we're talking about meeting or exceeding data, you will notice that we do have populations of students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade who are doing that, but you'll take a look at our 6th grade and see that 70.27% actually was meeting or exceeding in grade level. We'll go ahead and discuss that in a further slide about that anomaly that you're seeing right there. If you look at our math data, I do want to point out to you at the bottom, our third grade data at that 41.31%. And take into consideration that in third grade, this is the first time that students are taking the CAFS. This is the first time they're being exposed to this test. So students in grades 3, 4, 5, 6 have seen the test before, something, similar. Obviously, questions change and the rigor of the exam, but this is the very first time these third graders have seen it. And we'll talk about what some of those test scores look like prior years and what things are being done to show that growth. We have our ELA, our multilingual learners on the left-hand side of your screen, and then on the right hand, we have our students with disabilities. With our multilingual learners, we do see that we have students who are exceeding and we are meeting with math and with English, higher in English. But we do see students who are not, and we have supports in place to go ahead and to help those students, because really what we want to do is make sure that we are reclassifying students before they go into the middle school and in the high school, so they have much more opportunity once that occurs. If you look at the bottom down here, you'll notice our third grade again, and you'll notice with those multilingual learners that both for English and math were exactly the same. And I double checked it, I triple checked it, I thought I did something wrong. But no, at that 35.71%, these are for our multilingual learners. And I want to explain what's happening in our third grade and how we're using it to make systematic changes throughout our school with our teachers. I'll direct you over to our students with disabilities, and you'll see, oh, you know what, one more thing. Look at the multilingual learners. You'll see it's only third, fourth, and fifth grade. That's not a mistake. For sixth grade, we only had 6 students who tested. And because it's less than 11 students that tested, there's not data for them. But we went and we looked individually at those students. So out of those 6, there were actually 4 who met or exceeded standards when it came to English language arts. But due to students who were reclassified, which is what we really want before they leave Ira Harbison or any of our schools in the 6th grade, you'll see why we had less data. If you look over at students with disabilities in English and with math, you'll notice that we did have some students who exceeded or met, but you'll notice that there was a large portion of students who did not meet. And you can see that in front of you with that 85 and that 88%. And I'd like to be able to explain what is being done to rectify that situation so that all students, especially in our special education classes, are being successful and having their needs met. Here's a few takeaways and some next steps. Number 1, our site goal is dealing with academic vocabulary. And what we're doing is, as a staff, we are providing daily critical elements of vocabulary and instructional protocol that's in text and talk and write. If you do something, write about it. If you see something, write about it. And writing really should be in everything that we do, from English to math to PE to science, all of that is there. And so this is going to increase student use of academic vocabulary in both English and in math. And you'll see in our next slide how we're doing that in our third grade especially, and how that's going to trickle into more systematic approach school-wide. When it comes to our special education students, and we want to make sure that these students are having their needs met and they're receiving the education that all students should have, we are looking at consistent special education teachers and instructional healthcare assistants in their attendance and being present every day at school. This leads to effective collaboration between special and general education students and staff, and enhances students' individual instruction tailored to each student's need. It promotes an inclusive environment, fostering acceptance and positive peer relationships, and regular assessment and open communication with families. We now have that at IRA, and I look forward next year to showing you data on how our students in our special education program really are making gains, and looking at this year's data or last year's data compared to what they do this year. And then last but not least is that strong cohesion that we want to see. Our teachers at IRA are amazing. They do wonderful things with our students. Our executive cabinet was just there visiting today and yesterday doing walkthroughs and seeing what was happening in classrooms. But we want to look at that cohesion and how does that work across grade levels from 6th grade trickling down all the way to TK. Here you go. The first thing you're going to see over here is our promoting class of 2024 on the left-hand side. Now, these kids aren't with us anymore. They're at Granger, most of them, some of them at National City, but this is their scores on English over time. They went from 4th grade at 44% to 5th grade at 58% to 6th grade of 70% in meeting or exceeding standards. We should be so proud that we sent students to the middle school prepared so that when they walked into an English class there, they were not just ready to learn, but they had been given the tools so that they could learn. Having a middle school and a high school background, that is extremely important to me, that we're preparing students for what's next ahead in their lives. And really, I have to give a shout out to my 6th grade teacher. We had one 6th grade teacher last year, along with a combo class that only had a few 6th graders in it. But that 6th grade teacher, who's a permanent employee now, has worked so diligently with his students. This year, there's a second 6th grade teacher. They're working cohesively as a team, and I really know we're going to see great gains. On the other side, you'll see our math data for grade 3. And these are the same. These are different kids, but 3rd grade level. So in 21-22, only 16% of kids exceeded or met when it came to math. 22-23, 30%. So you can see a major jump in that exceeded or met to 41%. Our teachers in the 3rd grade are doing math talks daily, every single morning, focusing on math vocabulary. And the discussion we're having with them now is how do we bring this school-wide, as well as how do we use what they're doing in math to bring up their English scores, which are below what the math scores are, but if it's working in math, it can work in English just as well. I'll go ahead and now introduce Brian Vine, principal of John Otis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Vine, the principal of John Otis. Okay, so I'm going to start out real quick to preface. I'm really colorblind, so I can't tell you what color these are. So this is met and exceeded, nearly met, and not met. It's been an issue I've had my whole life. So is that is blue, red, and green?
Yes.
See, this looks brown to me.
That's
This color, I have no
brown.
idea what it is.
That's
Not a clue. Okay, so the
You always
numbers
look
are.
nice, right?
What's that?
You always look really nice.
Oh, thanks.
My dad had the same problem, but he didn't always look really good.
Okay, so the numbers are kind of small, and I'm going to kind of go over the overall for each grade level. On the left, we have English Language Arts. For met and exceeded, for 3rd grade, we have 10%. For 4th grade met and exceeded, we have 27%. For 5th grade, we have 26%. And for 6th grade, we have 42%. Moving on to math on the right-hand side, for met and exceeded, we have a 3rd grade at 16%, 4th grade at 31%, 5th grade at 22%, and 6th grade at 33%. Moving on to my next slide, we have our multi-language learners or English learners. ELA on the left-hand side, we have met and exceeded for 3rd grade, we have 6%. Met and exceeded for 4th, we have 6%. For 5th grade, 14%. And for 6th grade, 14%. On the right-hand side, we have math ELs. For 3rd grade, we have 11%. For 4th grade, we have 14%. For 5th grade, we have 11%. And for 6th grade, we have 10%. Moving down to the left-hand side on the bottom, we have our students with disabilities. For 3rd grade, we have actually 0%. Now, again, I think that was what Ms. Courtney was talking about. We didn't have enough students to test, so it didn't come out with a percentage. We did get a percentage for 4th grade at 8%. And again, we did not get a percentage for 5th or for 6th. Moving on to math, students with disabilities. We have 3rd grade, again, not enough students to test. Fourth grade at 8%, and then again for fifth and sixth, we didn't have enough students to test. So, next steps. We have our MTSS leadership team that we meet 3 times a year. And it's a group of teachers, and we come together and look at all the data and try and find that one spot where we need to focus. Our focus, again, was academic vocabulary throughout all grade levels. The MTSS team met this year to look at the data and came to the conclusion that vocabulary seemed to have the lowest amount of proficiency at only 17% met or exceeded. John noticed also had a little decrease in math, so teachers had decided to focus on math using UCI units, Go Math, and Common Core Daily Review. I also forgot to mention for vocabulary, it's pretty complex because each grade level has a different strategy for academic vocabulary. So it's not just one vocabulary strategy across the school, across all grade levels. Each one has it, and it kind of just varies for each one, getting more complex as they get into the higher grade levels. And we're also, we're going to continue progress monitoring through our data discussion. So I come in and meet with the teacher, we look at their data, we find out what we're going to work on, and that happens every 3 weeks. Uh-oh, what'd I do? Wow, I lost that. Jeez.
Yeah, I see Vanessa coming.
While we have a lull in the action, I'd like to request that we get another copy of these results, but I would like to see each one a full page presentation, because I can't even read these tiny little words. You know, I appreciate you reading them to me, but
Sorry.
I don't want to be writing down a bunch of notes. I want to know exactly what they say because I want to go over them item by item, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That's for every school.
Okay, so now some of our bright spots. 6th grade was close to having half of the grade at met or exceeded at 42% compared to 38% last year. And our 4th grade English learners had close to half the class achieve met and exceeded or nearly met at 44% compared to 39% last year. Now here's the major outlier. Last year we had an anomaly happen at John Otis. One teacher, this is for 5th grade, one teacher went out on maternity leave for the entire year. And then the other teacher broke her ankle and was out for pretty much the whole entire year. So my students had substitutes the entire year, and it clearly affected their data. It was pretty significant. The decrease in their data, it was mind-blowing. But this year, we have all teachers back. We're all ready to go. And I'm very excited for this year. And then again, in 3rd grade, we lost another teacher. So I only had one teacher for that grade. And it again, significantly affected that grade level. But again, we have a new teacher from El Tallon, who I've known for a long time, who's fantastic. And I have really, really high hopes for this year's data. And now I'll introduce Francisco Lopez with the Lions.
Muchas gracias. Buenas noches, Presidenta Gates, Executive Cabinet, and Trustees. Soy Francisco Lopez, el director de la Escuela Kimball. And to me, as I share with you our data, I want to start this conversation through an asset-based lens and looking at our students as individuals with a lot of potential to support the learning as they go through our educational journey in our dual language school. I'm presenting to you on the left side this presentation for English language arts. Currently, 39% of our students are performing at level 1, indicating a significant portion of our school population is not meeting grade level standards. This, for us, highlight an urgent need to target foundational skills and provide additional support to ensure students' progress toward proficiency. In yellow, you see that 24% of the students performing at level 2. That's also a quarter of our students' body is nearing proficiency, but still falling short meeting grade level. Focused interventions and instructional adjustments will be key to moving these students into level 3. While 37% of our students are meeting and exceeding grade level standards, level 3 and 4, the goal is to expand this group by building an effective instructional practices and enhancing both enrichment and supporting opportunities for all learners. Findings in mathematics on the right side show a declining progress over the last 2 years. Currently, 28% of our students are meeting and exceeding grade level standards. To respond to these needs, we're focusing on essential math skills at each grade level and provided additional support to ensure students progress toward proficiency. Overall, students with disabilities and multilingual learners, it's an area that I would like to address in a way that we are systematically approaching whenever we have data conversations and whenever we enter the conversation of how can we support across the board in all different stakeholders in our school setting. That includes the staff that is at our school and the supports that we get from outside of the school. So the following slide shows overall scores for students with disabilities and multilingual learners. As a system, we recognize the incredible gifts that our students bring to our school. Our students in the school face unique learning opportunities that have impacted their overall performance, but they can see and they can show progress. We believe the students' potential, and we recognize the urgency in improving these outcomes, but implemented targeted interventions to address academic and language barriers, and by setting short-term benchmarks for improvement in ELA and math to measure progress and modify instructions in conjunction with the students' individualized IEPs. For us, CAS scores, and current local measures results provide teachers with valuable formative data about individuals' learning needs. Our goal is to target Tier 1 instruction, and we believe in the idea that analyzing our scores during our data discussions and data moments, we believe in the potential to change those outcomes. Our MTSS leadership team met recently and established an instructional focus on vocabulary development across content areas by analyzing the data. Our school deeply is committed to our dual language program. We're working together to support language development and content mastery, ensuring that students receive consistent Tier 1 instruction across the curriculum. Research states that collective teacher efficacy is associated with productive behaviors, including implementing school improvement strategies. Our goals of MTSS leadership team is to really push into collective teacher efficacy across all our stakeholders in our school. Under the MTSS framework and sets of goals, we have reaffirmed our commitment to viewing bilingualism and biliteracy as a central mission of our work. This effort, driven by our commitment to student success, aims to contribute to a school-wide improvement in our CAS scores. As a bright spot in a statement that I would like to address as our English multilingual learners are making progress, on the left side, you see that this year's CAS results for 4th grade as a way to show how this grade level show improvements in both English language arts and mathematics. In ELA, 39 of the 4th grade students met or exceeded proficiency, reflecting the success of instructional strategies and targeted support. As a cohort, this grade level showed growth in math. Math results were similar, with 42% of students meeting or exceeding proficiency. The 4th grade success is a model for continued growth and improvement. On the right side of the slide here, we're pleased to report that 43.6% of our English language learners are making progress as measured by the English Learner Progress Indicator, reflecting a steady growth in their language development and academic performance. This 53.6% represents a 3% increase from the previous year, underscoring the positive impact of targeted interventions in classroom strategies for multilingual learners. Muchísimas gracias. Now I introduce back Ms. Conlon.
Back around for the 3rd time. Good evening. Let's see. Esteemed board, executive cabinet, I'm here to present our CAS data for Rancho de la Nacion. And so you'll see here, we have, just like all our other schools here have presented before, our overall scores. So over on the left, we have our English language arts and math overall scores. And similar to the trends that I think we've seen, not only across the other schools that we've already seen, but then also district-wide, our English language arts scores are a bit higher in terms of meeting and exceeding than our math scores. And over on the right-hand side, you'll see it broken down by grade. And so one area that we're highlighting as a school site is really the need for a bit more of a focus on math. And you'll notice that in our presentation today earlier, the focus on math and really connecting reading, writing, and I'll talk about that in a bit, is because as I look at the trends in our data, there really is a little bit more of a need in terms of the math piece at our school site. So I think our teachers do a great job, and I think district-wide a great job in the writing focus and really what we're doing for our students, our multilingual learners in terms of all of the emphasis that we have in vocabulary and what we're doing for our students with writing, and of course the importance in English language arts, but it's how else can we emphasize that and really elevate it so we're connecting the math portion. So in looking at our data, it's clear that that's where our school is going in the next direction to make sure that we're connecting the two in a more meaningful and impactful way. So in looking here at the data, if you look down at the bottom right-hand quadrant, if you look at the broken down grade levels, I did ask one of my teachers, I noted that as we saw in Dr. Kraft's presentation, there is a bit of a, I don't know, downward, I guess, tick in some of the data when they go down to the 5th grade area. The math is more difficult, right? The concepts do get a little more difficult, but I did see that in 3rd grade they did really well and even outperformed. It's not 143% if you can see that number there. I think that's wishful thinking. It's 43%, but very close to the English language arts numbers, but then they kind of do go down a little bit as the grades progress. And I had that conversation with my 3rd and 4th grade teachers, and we were looking at some of the language and vocabulary in the CASP questions, and there's a lot more cognates in the 3rd and 4th grade questions, but as the math does get more complex, if you don't dominate the language in English, it's much harder to make those connections in those later grades in terms of the math word problems. So that's one of the pieces that the conversation that we had around that as well. If we look at the overall in terms of students with disabilities and our multilingual learners, over on the left-hand side, so again, clearly some need if we look at our meeting and exceeding rates. And again, we look at the math piece. And so again, I'll bring your attention down to the bottom left-hand quadrant. They did great in terms of the comparison with math in comparison to English. And again, that's part of the conversation that I had with my teachers is that they outperformed, and multilingual learners outperformed in math over English. And part of that was the cognates and the connections that they were able to make in answering those questions for the math problems and having a little bit more of difficulty in the English questions. So you'll see that in that bottom left-hand quadrant. Over on the right-hand side, our students with disabilities, we had 0% exceeding, and that is a true number. So none of our students with disabilities exceeded in our data. And then we did have some that met, and it is a very small testing pool. So we did pull the individual numbers, and there's not a lot of students with disabilities that tested. We have a small number at Rancho. So still a focus, an area of focus that we're going to continue to have, work with our students and see what individualized accommodations and really support we can give them throughout the entire school year so that it's not just right before testing time. We're focusing on that, but what are we doing throughout the school year to ensure that we're teaching and supporting them along the way, but also ensuring that they're best equipped to take a very difficult test and they know how to take this test. And I think that's also part of the skill that's required as well. So with next steps, as some of my colleagues have already mentioned, the focus on Tier 1 instruction. So we do have our data discussions every 3 weeks with teachers. And one of the pieces that I have embedded as part of my regular agenda items, if you will, in those data discussions is how are we connecting the math with writing? So on-demand writing is something that we are now focusing on, and it doesn't only have to be an English language arts writing prompt. It can be a connection with math and how are they embedding that in their regular instruction. And my expectation is not that they're doing it daily because that's not realistic, but how are they being intentional in that on-demand writing so that there's a true connection in what they're doing in the classroom and it's not something that they're doing for the sake of me seeing it when I walk in. And so one of the pieces that I emphasize in my staff meetings and again in my data discussions is that I don't ever want them to feel that they're doing something because we feel we have to do it, but it's something that they know that it's meaningful for what they're doing for students, and there's a connection to the instruction because ultimately that's what's going to value students the most. Our second piece here for next steps is the MTSS goal for math. And so again, I focused a little bit more on math here, and I've explained that obviously that's our focus school-wide, and in our MTSS leadership team, we do meet 3 times a year, but then we also once a month re-emphasize our goals in our staff meeting, and someone from our leadership team presents. And so it's not just a one and done, because oftentimes you forget, right? And so if you don't re-emphasize what those goals are, you do it once and it kind of goes by the wayside until you have another big meeting again and you say, oh yeah, I have to do that with my staff. So once a month our team presents, we review what the goals were, and then we review what those strategies were. And so we all committed to having strategies school-wide, and a different person will present, and they'll also give a status in terms of what they've done in their classroom, an exemplar or example, if you will. And then everyone has an opportunity to share, to ask questions, to invite others into their classroom so that they're all a part of it. And then for the third one, our ELA goal. So it's increasing proficiency in reading comprehension, but again, it's that access to vocabulary. So we of course are still going to focus on English language arts. It's not that that goes on the back burner, but it's also embedding the access to vocabulary in whatever genre that we're working on or how that connection is, but it's also the math vocabulary. So it's like I said, I keep going back to, it's the connection of the two. So it can't be taught in isolation, but it's how everything is connecting within their lessons. So that's our focus for our next steps. And then our bright spots. So you'll see over on the left-hand side, we do have comparison data there from last year to this year, and we grew in all areas, which was really exciting. So in our math, we did increase slightly, but we did have an increase. At ELA, we went up almost 2%, and in science, we went up significantly. And that is, I wasn't there the previous year, so I did have to ask and poke around because I wasn't quite sure what strategies or practices were put into place. But we did have, as you all know, there was conversations for quite some time on new science curriculum. Our district resource team did provide professional development in science. So there was a focus on science, there was focus on writing, and I think with that came more awareness and more intentionality in science. So we did have, that could have contributed more towards our gains in science. So that was definitely a bright spot for us. And then we also had growth in our socioeconomic disadvantage overall met and exceeding. And again, it was also pretty significant. So 2.71% in English and 2.64 in math. Excuse me. So definitely a population that oftentimes does have more difficulties to access, more chronic absenteeism. So it was exciting to see that we did have gains in from last year to this year. And we want to see what we can do to replicate that and what services and supports were added. I think definitely having a counselor full-time is part of that, the connection that she makes with them. We have the Food for Families program that started, and that food uncertainty is a big part of something that can contribute to a student feeling safe and not having to worry about other outliers, right, that happened. So, so that was another bright spot. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you to our amazing leaders. And now I will open it up to questions.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for your presentation. I know that a lot of work goes into preparing, and then of course being here, taking out additional time out of your day. But I just wanted to again say thank you. But I also look forward to hearing all the great things that are happening and in all the stuff that you presented to, all the implementation that's going to go out, and then coming back and presenting the increase of scores. I know that we oftentimes we hear of what is all the negative things that are happening, all the negative scores and so on.
We're still hearing of COVID. We're gonna get out of that, out of that talk of COVID, and then we're gonna recover, and then we're gonna hear all the positive things. So I have a lot of confidence in all of you, all of our educators and all of our support staff that, that are really doing all the work for our children. So I have so much confidence in all of you again, and everybody who is touching the lives of our students, and with all the great leadership that we have from the top down. And I am super excited of all that is coming from here on out, and I'm just excited to hear. So thank you for all that you do, and again, all of our staff, and I look forward to seeing all the great things that are happening. So thank you again.
Trustee Lozada?
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for that thoroughly faster numbers that we got in. I feel you. It's hard and difficult to understand, but something necessary to understand what's going on in your school. A few things that we have to celebrate every single success, no matter how little it is. And it's great to see success no matter. And I know as a piggyback on what Trustee Castañeda said, we're not going to blame on the COVID anymore, but we're still feeling the academic loss, and especially on the special education department, which is very triggered by the learning disabilities and how every single student needs to be seen as a unique learning opportunities that they have and the abilities that they have. So for that being said, it will be something that we can just figure it out if we do look for mainstreaming strategies to increase the gains on that department. And also, if you have a need for professional development or something that is a strategy, it will reflect on the next year. And I know that is coming up because I know, especially with the leadership that you have in your schools, and I know you can make it happen. And also, we have to realize that dual language is a very hard our area, because on the contrary that we are strongly believers that dual language increases the proficiency, and if you by any means we believe that that's something that we can tackle in, even though that we have only one school and we might need some more support on that one. Please don't hesitate to do it. We have that data that backs us up that dual language or maybe 3 or another language, but it will be now 2, but increasing that capacity for our children. And there is hard to speak both languages, especially at a young age. And we have a very group of newcomers that they also are considered on this testing. But I would like to see it out of that criteria for students that we want it to be reclassified. And what does it take it to be reclassified? If we're gonna reduce the number of testers, if we can gather some more that it can do a little progress at a time, will be give us more data about it. Would be nice to see that, including if you have 8 testers and you lost 4, grab one that is not probably in that criteria, but it's close to that one. That'll be something that we can explore in the future. And also, if we can just have comparables of other schools that they can do good and how they make it happen. But it's thank you for that comparison, because it's we're looking that we are making good progress with other schools and other districts that they're doing the same thing, and we have more gains on that part. But what others that are going okay, what they're doing, so we can implement here in our own capacity. So that's something I wanted to see coming. Then congratulations on your gains, because we celebrate every single thing you're doing. We honor you. Thank you.
Trustee Sarmiento?
Thank you. As I said before, I'd like to see this presentation in a larger format if you can. And it's okay if you just email it to us, because of course we want to save trees. But also, I have a question. If you could help me understand, why under some of the categories where there are not enough students to test, what makes that happen?
They don't report a score if there's less than 11 students.
What do you mean, in the class, in the school? And what?
Your target group, it just depends. So like, for example, there may be some school districts that don't have English learners, and maybe they only have 5 or 6, and they're testing, but they won't report a score.
But I thought that our district was a large amount of English language.
I think an example was from Ira Harbison, and she was mentioning that in sixth grade, so many of the students have already reclassified that there are less than 11 students that are classified as English learners at Ira Harbison at this time in sixth grade. I believe that was the one that
But
we're.
I thought I saw it in more than one.
You might have seen it with students with disabilities. I believe that Principal Conlon Diaz also mentioned that they don't have more than 11 students with disabilities testing in some of the grade levels. And in John Notice.
So in the next presentation I bring, I'll be presenting the alternative assessments. This is the CAS, and we'll probably see more data there.
So is that gonna be at the next meeting?
That's
And
what
are
I'm,
the other 5 principals gonna be presenting at that time?
yes, they'll be presenting their CAS data. I'll present district-wide around the alternative
I'll
assessments.
make it bigger.
Yeah. I'll put something together for the board.
Presentation form is
Yeah.
I agree I agree, trustee Sarmiento. I'm
Yeah,
starting to
so
feel
did
it.
I. I'm going like this, trying to read these numbers. I'm feeling really old here.
Okay, I will take responsibility. I told them they had to be quick. And to
That's a clarifying question because I was wondering that as well. Dr. Brady.
I just wanted to say I loved the format of the presentations tonight. Typically, no offense, Dr. Kraft, you
None
always do a
taken.
wonderful job in presenting the data. But numbers are just numbers without the examples behind them. And in some areas, we can see those numbers are increasing, and in others, we want to take a deeper look. And it was really nice to be able to hear directly from the principals about the data analysis, the thoroughness that you've put into looking at the performance of your students and what you're doing to spotlight the areas of growth and where you're spending your time focusing. It was just really powerful to hear the story behind the numbers, so thank you.
Take me. Okay. One of the things I always noticed, or at least it seemed like it to me as someone who came late to the teaching field, first grade, like kinder is an introduction to everything, introduction to letters, introduction to sounds, introduction to sight words, introduction to numbers. First grade is like addition foundation, subtraction foundation. And then they get to second grade and it's the same thing. It's still the same concept, but we give them harder problems. They're starting to get into double digits instead of just single digits, addition and subtraction. Then we add a new concept in third grade of multiplication and division, but fourth grade it's more difficult. Fifth grade, introduction of fractions, introduction of again, more new concepts, and then sixth grade, it's more difficult. And so another thing we do across most of our districts is we go from 24 to 27 kids to 32 or 33 between third and fourth grade. All of that impacts our student learning. And so, like you said, across the state, because I know in my school site as well, my school district, fifth grade takes a hit when it comes to math. But again, it's a whole bunch of new concepts that we dump on them. More like we are starting to ask them to multiply fractions and have to, flip, change, take, all the things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Equivalent.
All the, but, we have the whole little, all of that. And so we load a lot on our students. We really do. And I'm thankful to see their growth. More than that, I am really thankful to see your pride in them. It is so very clear that you see your students, that you have a vision and a goal for them, but you also see who they are now. and the successes that they are making. And thank you for sharing that pride with us tonight. Principal Conlon, I've already written myself a note to talk to my own principal about the cognate impact. We have not discussed that. That's real. It's real for our students. And we are seeing more newcomers into our neck of the woods here in the larger, South Bay area. And so we're going to, as we continue to see more newcomers to our schools, we're going to see more need to understand that kind of thing. So I appreciate that. I also appreciate that you all are obviously having very intentional conversations with your teachers and with your data teams and with not just being content with with the fact that you're getting a number, but what is going on behind it, and drilling down to see what impact that is making on your students and your teachers, because there's a load on them there. Next year will be our first test takers who will not have sat in a heavily COVID impacted classroom. So third grade is our first testing year. This year's third graders were in kindergarten when we were masked and having to send them home at the slightest hint of a fever. They could not come back for 10 days. And everybody sitting next to them within the radius. That in and of itself, there's a point at which we can't keep going, COVID. But in truth, next year is our first class of test takers who will not have been impacted heavily by COVID rules and COVID distancing and COVID absences. So I just wonder. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you for your commitment to sharing your students and your schools with us. Thank you, Dr. Kraft, for the information. Okay. Stay there. Item 10B, presentation of California Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports Medal Recognition for 2024. Dr. Kraft.
Yes, I would like to bring up our Coordinator of Student Support Services, Ms. Maria Cici Garcia.
All right, good evening. So here I am with more data for you, but it's not a lot. Okay. So, well, thank you for being here, board members, esteemed board members, executive cabinet, and our visitors here in the audience. Thank you so much. I am super delighted to bring to you some information about PBIS and our medal recognition from the last school year, the 23-24 school year. It says 24-25. That's okay, but it's for 23-24. Following the same format with our CASP data, I want to make sure that we really have an opportunity for our school sites and our school leaders to be able to share the things that they're doing that really brings PBIS to life. So before we go into their presentations, I just wanted to bring us back from last May when I shared with you a little bit about PBIS, what it is, what it isn't, and all those good things. These next couple of meetings, we're going to dig in a little bit more about each one of those tiers, what's expected in those tiers, some of the practices that happen within those tiers, and just some information in terms of data. So as shared before, PBIS is within the MTSS framework, and it's focused on the learning of positive behavior. So just like with academic learning, of math, science, reading, writing. We also have the learning of behavior. The same thing, we have universal support in tier 1, targeted support in tier 2, intensive support in tier 3. And as with everything else in academics as well, with PBIS, it is data driven. It is the driver of how the teams make decisions, how they look at those multiple sources of data, and then how they determine how they're going to do the teaching of positive behaviors with their students. So I'm going to focus in this time on tier 1, which is universal supports. And the cornerstone of our universal supports is really around a couple of things, which is teaching expectations, acknowledging and reinforcing positive behavior, correcting the errors in that negative behavior, and then reteaching to make sure that we learn those positive behaviors. So just like phonics, just like main idea and details, we have to explicitly teach positive behaviors to our students. This is done systematically in classrooms through their PBIS lessons, and they're all centered on those expectations. The teams use synergy behavior incident data. They use Panorama SEL survey data, as well as academic and attendance data to really kind of determine if students requiring universal supports need to move to targeted supports or move to intensive supports. And we'll talk about those 2 tiers next time. So one of the things that we use, one of the tools that we use is called the TFI, the Tiered Fidelity Inventory. And this is a research-based inventory that we use to help us kind of reflect on our PBIS implementation. So for tier 1, which is that the expectations and the teaching of behaviors and really providing that instruction in those positive behaviors, I'm really happy to say that all 10 schools are implementing PBIS to fidelity, and fidelity, according to California PBIS Committee and Coalition, is 70% on that TFI. So last year, 2020, not last year, year before last, 79.7% is of our schools were implementing to fidelity. Then we have this past year, the 2024 year, and we moved up to 86.4. So tier 1 universal supports is solid, solid, solid in all of our schools. All 10 schools, which is really cool, got recognized at California PBIS at the camp conference there in Sacramento a couple weeks ago. So it's always fun to see our name on the website and see every single one of our schools. So again, I will be talking to you a little bit more about tier 2, which is the targeted supports, and tier 3, which is the intensive supports. That fidelity data will be shared with you the next time. Hint, hint, we have great gains there too. So with that, I would love to be able to have our teams share a little bit about what they do at each one of their schools. And so we'll start with Mr. Denegri.
Okay, so we were also told to try to go quick, so I'll do my best. We have some pictures here that demonstrate some of the things we're doing for PBIS. In the first picture here, we had our Stomp Out Bullying celebration. One of our awesome board members was able to attend. And one of the reasons I'm wearing orange, because we celebrated Unity Week and everybody wore orange. And we had an assembly and all the kids participated to stand up to bullying. We have our awesome, that's Miss Lopez, if you didn't recognize her, for the zones of regulation, and she does PBIS lessons as well as the teachers. We have a lot of signage around our campus, which emphasizes El Tayon Eagles Soul with Kindness. And we also have a lot of anti-bullying type of messages, which you can see from one of the pictures on the side there. We also, at El Tayon, we shine by having students participate within our PBIS committee, then that serves to be really valuable. We also use a lot of
data analysis from the Panorama Social Emotional Learning Survey. And also, we also celebrate our Eagle successes by having a monthly awards assembly. And then we also do morning announcements. That's always, every announcement is concluded by saying, be kind, keep your hands to yourself, and don't forget to smile, because you'll never glow if you don't shine is our theme, and we're focusing on that this year.
Good evening again. Let me go ahead and let you know about some of the wonderful things that are happening at Ira Harberson and with our Hawks. And I have to state that I walked into a school that was really implementing PBIS with fidelity. I am very blessed to have walked into a great staff, a great support team, a counselor who really believes that this work is what is best for our kids and has taught me so much in the short time that I've been at Ira about what we're doing to better support our students. Our signage is great. It's absolutely fantastic, and you can see a lot of it. We did have signage that says, be safe, be respectable, be responsible, be kind. All of that signage was switched out, and it was minimal to we are, giving our students much more ownership of our PBIS goals. You'll see our little ones in the corner. I figure when you take pictures of the littles, it's even more adorable. So here's some of our kinders right here, all with their Hawkeyes. And our kinders love the Hawkeyes, but our older students do as well. A Hawkeye, like, we're watching you, so it's something you get for your behavior. It states which one of these goals you have met, and students are able to use that as rewards in our PBIS store. And we worked on getting better awards for our older students who maybe like things that are a little bit different than some of our younger. You'll see that our signage not just is in what we are, but how we do it. So how do we behave in the hallway? How do we behave in the cafeteria? Anywhere you go, you'll see not only how we can be safe, but what we need to do. So, for example, in the hallway, keep your hands and feet to yourself. And this is something that we go ahead and we talk about with our students on a daily basis, and we have assemblies in which we promote this. And in the middle, we just did this on Monday. We had a fantastic BMX bike assembly for our students as a PBIS reward, but also to continue promoting all of our safety, respectful, responsible, and being kind. And that's what they hit on. That's what they talked about. That's how they gave examples and really showed our students to dream big. Parents were able to attend as well, and so that they could go ahead and continue those conversations at home. Some things that we're doing, but we're getting even better at, is celebrating successes. We know that we want to celebrate our students' successes, not just our students, but our families, because really we're just one entity. Yes, kids spend a lot of time with us, but they also spend a lot of time with their families, and we want families to know what we're doing and how they can help us to implement this at home as well. So we're celebrating successes, not just with our kids, but with our families as well. We have a PBS handbook. The handbook, it's fantastic. It was handed to me when I came to Ira, and we're just tweaking and implementing. Our teachers have had a lot of say, but we really need from all of our stakeholders. So teachers are re-looking at it. We're having our parents, we're having our students give us better ways that we can continue with this commitment, as well as making sure that we're all in agreement and we have buy-in to this handbook of how we're going to handle our PBIS commitment. And then lastly, our student voice. We want to make sure, just like with teachers, we want teachers to have voice in what they do, so there's buy-in and that they're excited. We want our students to have buy-in. If we have incentives or behavior strategies that are not working, why are we doing it? And so it's great to get feedback from our students, and that's what we are missing, and that's what we're getting, so that we really can make sure that we're supporting our students every single day there on campus at Ira. And now I'll go ahead and turn it over to John Otis.
Thank you, Courtney. All right, good evening again. Okay, so at John Otis, there are so many aspects of PBIS. It was actually hard to
pick 3 things because the direction said 2 to 3 pictures. So I'm a rule follower. I could have put a whole lot more, but these are some big ones. In the middle, that's my my new 3rd grade teacher that I'm very excited about. She's handing her a Tiger ticket. They can get Tiger tickets from any staff. They can get them for being helpful, for being kind, for all, aspects of PBS. They give them Tiger tickets. And what do those do? Those Tiger tickets, they have a raffle within their classroom where they can get a prize. The teacher pulls it out, they go into the office, and they get a prize. Also, there's another surprise for them is I go around and I pull it out of every single class. And then every Friday, they come sit with me, and I give them a just approved popsicle. And they really love it. I hang out with them. They have this healthy popsicle. So they try and earn them. And then to the right, like Courtney was saying, we have this signage. It's like all over the campus. It's like this one's a hallway. So these are the hallway expectations. We have them in the auditorium. We have them on the playground. They're literally everywhere. And then finally, we have to the left. That's our roar pledge, and most of you know I am a big announcement guy in the morning. So that's part. That's part of it. A student comes in, they say the Pledge of Allegiance, and one of them says the roar pledge, and we go over. Those are our expectations. And finally, I didn't put it up there because it was kind of hard to take a picture of it, but I'm real big on school culture and family, so I make it a really big point to be visible and have my families on my campus as much as possible, because I always feel like the safest campus is a campus full of parents. So I had a really big, strong culture at John Lewis that I really love. And next up, so you're going to hear a lot of the same ones that you heard from my colleagues over here. At John Lewis, we invite students and parents to our PBIS Tier 1 meetings to get their opinions on how we can better implement our PBIS strategies. Like that's what we find out. Like, where do you feel the most unsafe? And they find, oh, it's the bathrooms. And then we, as teachers and community members, figure out how to make that safer. Second thing, John Lewis has quarterly PBIS assemblies where I go over all the expectations of the school to serve as a reminder throughout the year. And then every quarter I hold a staff meeting where the counselor and I analyze behavior data according to the location of the behavior on campus. So we can go into Synergy and it could tell us how many behaviors were in the bathroom, how many behaviors were in the classroom, and we can kind of set our focus to that. So that's just a few of a ton. So thank you.
Kimbo Lions, ¿cómo están? Otra vez. So one of the biggest opportunities that I had as I walk into our campus every morning, every day, is students acknowledging me, acknowledging the community, acknowledging the parents, acknowledging guests, acknowledging Miss Blanchett every time she walks into the classroom when they see us. So this idea of how PBIS supports behaviors, but also these cultural traditions of saying good morning, buenos días, abrir la puerta, cerrar la puerta, detener la puerta, like open the door for whoever is coming in and coming out of the classroom. Being aware of their surroundings and not just for the sake of being safe, but being kind. That's a big component of our PBIS at our school. The empathy component, you can feel it, and it's really a culture of the school that is special to Kimball. Every time I receive guests that come into our school, that's the element of our PBIS program. The idea of students have this empathy and the opportunity to be kind with each other. Today, I had the experience to bring a newcomer who's struggling with the English language, who doesn't feel safe coming into school. And I see students coming into him and saying, what's going on with you? What's going on? And they ask me like, no problem, teachers, like they really want to help, okay? And I said, how can I help you? And I explained to them like what he was going through. And they were starting to say, that happened to me. I felt the same way when I started coming to the school. Yo también sé español, si puedes hablar conmigo. So that idea of empathy, it's something cultural that PBIS does. A big component of our program, and I want to acknowledge, and I want to do a big shout out to our school counselor, Erica Durazo. Okay, Erica Durazo has been the heart of our PBIS program even before I came into Kimball. So now students have gone through our program and have gone through the lessons and the process of PBIS, and they give back to her. Last year, we had the opportunity to celebrate her birthday, and I gave hearts to the students, and the students write notes to her. Most of that data is not in the computer, it's not in the system, but we made a big poster of all those hearts and students saying to her, thank you for helping me regulate my emotions. Thank you for helping me with solving conflict. Thank you. So that was a lot of information. I said, oh, read through this and we can use it in our TFI solution. And we laugh about that, but it's more on the cultural aspect of what we do at Kimball. So for us, fostering a positive school climate is what we are all about. Increasing family and community engagement. One of the biggest components is sharing with our families what PBIS means and what PBIS does for the kids, and me asking of them how they can enforce and support PBIS at home, and they can also allow their students to learn, bring what they do at home to the school and in support of making a bigger impact in our community. So we will continue to use our data and learn from past experiences and improve those experiences so that students have a better learning and behavior experiences at our school. Thank you.
Good evening again. So for Rancho La Nacion, what a great way to couple our CAST data, right, the academics piece with the school culture piece. And so when I came in last year, mid-year, one of my challenges was really seeing what the school culture was, what was important and valuable to not only staff, but then also students, and then how to build upon that. And one of the areas that I noticed is that there were some gaps, right, in sort of the consistency of what was happening. And so my challenge last year was really just taking it all in and seeing how we could go forward and really build upon that. So that was my entire focus last year, was really building upon school culture. This year, and as Cece said, she's like, you have a great place to start, and it's kind of like that clean slate to really get some momentum and get going. And that's what we did. So we had conversations as a staff. We did get the bronze, so that was great. But it's like, how can we keep going from there? So we had conversations in our staff, we meet in our PBIS committee meetings, and we did make some great strides, even just in this first quarter and a half or so that we've been in session. And so in looking at what we've done this year, we have implemented the PBIS weekly lessons, and they're all obviously the thematic topics. And that was something that years past was already in place, but just for one reason or another, just kind of went by the wayside. So we brought that back, and I also am a big announcements person. So I announce every single day, and I focus on that. And so we talk about what that looks like in the classroom and what that looks like in different areas of campus. So we started implementing that alongside the help and support of my counselor. She's a huge proponent of that, but she was also new last year. So it was us working together to see how we can continue to move our school forward in that direction. We were looking at our incentives. So a lot of what you've already heard, we also implement. We have the tickets and different things, but we were looking at school-wide, what can we do, but still have teachers have some autonomy in what those incentives are. And so we came up with, and it's over up on the top left-hand side, we have the top three are the lunch with the principal popsicle party, which is also a big hit, and they are also the district approved popsicles, and the free dress bracelet, which is just another easy, great way to really bring students in, right? But then teachers can choose how many of those tickets it requires for students to be able to get to that incentive, because maybe for the sixth graders, that lunch with the principal isn't as big of a incentive for them, but that free dress bracelet is something that they all want. So they can kind of gauge what that looks like in their classroom, right? But let me tell you that those second and third graders are like looking forward to that lunch with the principal. So they can kind of gauge what those look like in their classroom to be able to have them work forward to that. And then the blank ones underneath are for teachers to add their own. And then we've increased our SEL resources and then Calming Corners school-wide also. And then we're also moving forward with the we. So right now, if you look school-wide at our signage, everything is B, B, B. And I still was announcing that, and we've moved away from it. And now we are incorporating more of the we, and we also have students announcing that as well. So we have someone come in and do the pledge. We have someone come in and do our Peace Builders pledge. And then at the very end, the students are saying, we are respectful, we are responsible, that they are also internalizing that. And so for next steps, it's really continuing to incorporate that student voice, including them in our tier 1 meetings, and then also making sure that they are helping us address what those interventions look like. Our PBIS handbook has not been updated in some time, and so that's something that is a project that we're taking on this year, and looking at what that behavior matrix looks like, so that school-wide we're on the same page, and the expectation even with our staff is that they know what it looks like in the classroom, how we're addressing it, and then we can also share that with parents, which that has not been, I think, a practice previously. And then our school signage. So modernizing the signage, it's starting to look a little worn. So making sure that in going back to the we part of it, we're taking on that. We're also updating what the signage looks like as well. And that's what we're doing at Red Show. Thank you.
All right. Isn't that much more meaningful coming from the actual school sites instead of me talking about it?
You're great.
No, you are. So with that, again, delight is the only way that I can describe it, is the hard work that our school leaders have put into making sure that they're engaging not just staff, but they're engaging their students and their families and the community at large, has to be celebrated. And then again, we use an external rater that helps support us with this tiered fidelity inventory. And it is a rigorous process. Each time we do this, it takes us 4 hours, including looking at data and going out into classrooms and going out. So I've had the opportunity to work with each one of these school leaders, and I can say that they're all exemplary, and I am very happy to make these presentations. So I'm going to go ahead and start presenting these banners. And again, every time I walk into a school site, I see the ones from last year. So can't wait to see like all of them all over the place. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm pleased to recognize El Crayon for PBIS implementation
At the platinum level.
If we could have the principals come up.
Come on up. And I
then
think
we'll take a picture with the board
Mr.
principal.
Denegri, your MTSS coordinator, is also here. So Ms. Ricker, if you would like to join your principal, that would be fantastic. Ira Harbison, they went from bronze to gold this past year. Top five. It's that store. I can tell you, it's that PBIS store.
Awesome.
I know. I go in there and I'm like, ooh, playing with all the things. All right. We have John Otis. We are so proud that you are maintaining and actually leveling up your platinum level every year. So John Otis. Next, we have Kimball School, and they are bronze this year. So Kimball School, come on in. Yes, and we have the MTSS coordinator, Lisette Blanchette from Kimball. And last but not least, Rancho de la Nacion. I just love, the leader has just taken this and run. I can feel it. It's going to be gold or platinum next year. I just know it this year. So thank you so much, Rancho de la Nacion. And the MTSS coordinator is here, and look at that, she's a multitasker.
And could we get the governing board to come on down and surround the principals for a photo? And executive cabinet will just stand up here.
Cece, I think you should be, and right, yeah.
Yeah. You want to help hold the banner?
Okay. How about if I speak in here? Cece? Okay. There we go. Good. Stand on. Scooch. Whoa. Okay. Felicidades.
All right, congratulations, everyone, and I turn it back to the board. Thank you so much. All right. I didn't put the slide that says questions, but I think we have some.
Questions?
Of course, of course.
Requests.
Of course, and then our leaders are here hopefully so that they can answer some of those questions also.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations on this just showing off what it is. And I'm glad that we're raising awareness and empathy, which is a really great asset on our part, and I think I know all that. And just to let you know, we have hawk eyes to see every single achievement that you do, and that's great that we get to see every time we see it on the course. And I would like to see if I can use the song regulation to myself one time, but I would like to stop by Kimball and just say, how do you feel today? So we just thank you very much. I would like to see that part. I haven't seen it, but I will visit it soon. So question for all of you. I'm not sure you can give me an example of what it looks like taking a student for a request on how you're going to be incentivized. So I don't know how crazy they get when it's like, dream out how you can get incentivized, but please be mindful that they cannot get everything they want. So it'd be nice to have it there, but having a non-dress code, it works wonders, and also including the family in that part. This is really great. But, and also, I would like to get a popsicle one. So, but last but not least, I know my son went to Altoyon, but he still remembers the Rainbow Master Barney saying, "Good morning, Neil," in the morning. So I would like to see how you sound now saying, "Good morning, Tigers."
I have to be very careful.
Oh my God.
I don't want to slip and say anything else.
Yeah, good morning, Tigers. I would like to see that once in episode 12. I would like to hear that in the morning.
8:30 in the morning, come on over.
Thank you. That's all from me. Congratulations to all of you.
Trustee Castaneda, thank you. I just wanted to start off saying congratulations to all 5 of you. Very well deserved. And I wanted to say thank you on Ira Harbison for sending out the handbook, and then all of those that are working on it or have had sent out the handbook and sharing it with the families. I would like to have it sent out district-wide, and also to have something where our families are provided a workshop or a presentation where it's done more currently and often, because we don't want to lose the momentum of what we're working on. And I know I've said this before, because we put so much work into our students, and it's important, especially nowadays, that we have a lot of mental health issues with our students, and keeping them focused on their behavior, and it's not just in school, and it's at home too. So if we continue the focus and the partnership with our parents, we're not going to lose our kids. And having that handbook for our parents, it's a tool for our parents, but also it's something that they can fall back on when they are in a crisis mode, or if they don't have somebody to contact, they can at least refer to something. But it's something that they can have where they have a tool, again, a tool for them to be able to at least refer to. Oftentimes, our parents don't have somewhere to fall back on, and we want them to be able to have some comfort, to know that we are there to support them, even if they can't call us immediately. During the weekend, they have something, and then on Monday, they can immediately call us. But nonetheless, if we continuously have on a quarter basis, or however we can find some time to be able to continuously emphasize the importance of the PBIS strategy that we use in our school system, they know that we have their children's best interest in mind. It's so important that we are constantly reminding our students, but it's that much more important if we want our parents to be a partnership in this, that we also remind them as well. Just like we have incentives for our students to behave, we need to incentivize our parents to participate, right? So we need to encourage that. I am a strong supporter of parent participation. So however I can be a partnership and encouraging our parents to participate, please include me on how I can be of support for this. Because I have heard that once they leave our district, we lose them. I don't want that. So we need to build that partnership with the secondary district to ensure that we continue to have that momentum. So please let us continue that progress that we created so we don't lose them. So please let me know how I can be of support.
If it's okay, there's a couple of things that I heard that I'd like to address to make sure that you're aware and our parents are aware of the systematic way that the school sites are engaging in that PBIS handbook and making those decisions about the expectations and those types of things. Most, if not all of our principals do have a monthly coffee with families where they have this as a standing item that they discuss each meeting that they have with parents. So one of the things that I'm working with different principals are how to engage families to make sure that they are aware of PBIS, what it is, what it isn't, and how they can support. So within that scope, we can do trainings. Counselors are one of our biggest resources at the school sites when it comes to PBIS, and we're working on strengthening their training so that way they can support their school sites and training parents and families. So I wanted to kind of address that. The other piece that you mentioned was mental health. Right now in some schools, they're piloting what's called the TFI 3.0, which is a far more robust inventory of implementation. They're not sure when it's going to come out, but one of the two biggest components of change that I want to start working with our site leaders now is mental health supports, and then the other one is equity and student voice. So those two pieces are going to be huge components. We're already primed for that, so we just need to support our staff with that. So those are the couple of things. As far as resources go for mental health and those types of things, our counselors, and within that PBIS structure, there is where they can reach out for support from our counselors, and they can connect them with those resources directly. The last thing I heard was about the secondary. So I am working with Sweetwater and trying to figure out how we can match things up. As always, it is something that I will continue to try to collaborate on. But thank you for that question and those comments.
Right. So I know sometimes I know the coffee with principals and so on, but we don't always capture a lot of the parents because, we expect some parents are working. We need to try to have other options. So I want to make sure that we have multiple ways to communicate with parents. So not just DPAC, DLAC, and coffee with principals. I want to make sure that we're offering workshops and different ways of communication. We just can't focus on coffee with principals.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand that completely. We have an extremely innovative and creative group of leaders here. And so each time I go and coach and work with them at their school sites, we're going to push that button. Okay. Dr. Brady.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you again to our schools that presented. We got to see the fun things that you do, but I think really what struck me the most is the physical and emotional safety that you're providing for your students. Because if students don't feel safe at school, both physically and emotionally, they can't learn. And so you got to hear about the test scores and you got to see some of those bright spots, but this is the work also behind the scenes that goes into setting the stage for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
All right, I am going to call for a 5 to 7 minute recess. that will allow some of you to go if you choose to. Again, we're happy to have you stay, but it's just, we're looking at a full night. So if you all return here or chat and hang out for about 8:48, according to that clock, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you. Conduct a public hearing regarding adjusting the schedule of instruction for the 2024-2025 extended school year. I'm opening the hearing. The board will now hear comments from any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter. No? Okay. This public hearing is to address the need to adjust the extended school year schedule to provide the required 80 hours of instruction in fewer calendar days. As part of this hearing, we will be making a break. We will make a brief statement. Dr. Kraft.
As you know, we bring this forward to the board every year because we are a modified traditional schedule and our summer is quite short. We want to ensure that we meet the requirement of the state while also providing some downtime for the students. So if an approval of this will allow us to send the following item, the resolution and notify the state that we have had the approval, and then we can start planning our ESI program.
Members of the board have any comments or questions? All right, then I'm closing this hearing. Thank you. Item 10D, to adopt resolution 24-25.16 to adjust this extended school year session schedule. Do I have a motion to adopt?
I second the motion.
Dr. Kraft.
As I shared earlier, if it is the board's desire to approve this resolution, we will be able to begin planning ESY within our summer schedule.
Thank you. All right, questions? Just making sure. Trustee Betancourt Castaneda has made a motion to adopt. Trustee Lizarraga has seconded. Please vote. Item 10E, to adopt resolution 24-25.17 to authorize continued funding application and authorize a contract for California State Preschool Program for the fiscal year 2025-2026. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Dr. Kraft.
Yes, this would allow us to start drawing down on funds for our preschool students in attendance. Although this year is our last year of full hardware, so we do want to start really tracking because this will have implications next year.
Questions? I have a motion to adopt by Trustee Sarmiento, a second by Trustee Lizarraga. Please vote. All right, item 10F, to approve the purchase of YubiKey security hardware from SHI International Corporation for multi-factor authentication. Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve.
Second, discussion.
Dr. Kraft.
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Cossey to please go to the podium. He can speak to this and answer any questions that the board may have.
Good evening, board members and executive cabinet. So this item is to approve the YubiKey. So this provides an option for staff members to use a hardware token. It's like a little USB key if they choose to. So we'll provide that option. You can also use a cell phone. What this whole program is another piece to it, which is a software piece. You'll probably start hearing about it a lot, even through the form of complaints. So multi-factor authentication, known as MFA, when you go to log into something, let's say email or Synergy, it's going to prompt you to verify your identity. So similar to any of your financial institutions, same sort of technology. And so you have to verify your identity either through the use of a cell phone, app on your cell phone, or these keys. So we're starting with 200. Obviously, we have more staff than that. The hope is that people will utilize their cell phones because it's more convenient. But if not, we'll be able to provide these hardware tokens as an option.
All right. Trustee Lizarraga.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. And I feel more secure with my phone when certain agencies that are outside using the multi-factor because I feel more safe. So I would like to bring that up, and I'm glad that you brought that up to our district. Thank you.
Trustee Sarmiento.
Is this similar to or in place of the keyless entry, or is it different?
It's different than keyless entry. So this is more related to accessing technology resources. For example, your email. Email is probably the most vulnerable system that we have. You get phishing attacks and different attempts through that system. And so this is another layer other than your basic password to provide a layer of security on it. And so we'll apply the same to the Synergy student information system. And so we'll get another layer because those are probably the two most vulnerable systems in the district at this time.
And how do you use it on your phone?
So you install an app on your phone. When you go to log in, it verifies that if you enter your username and password, and then it prompts on your phone to verify that it's actually you logging in, that you're taking that action. So the flip side of that, if you get a verification on your phone and you're not actually logging in, then it's probably not something you want to authorize. So that's typically how it works.
There's an option for employees that don't want to use their phone. Could you briefly describe that?
Yes, that's the YubiKey that we were asking you to approve tonight. And the option with the YubiKey, you can use it in one of two ways. So you take the key and you would plug it into the USB-C drive on your computer and you press a button. And that is your approval to get in from a computer. The other method, if I was trying to get into something from my phone, I could use a near-field communication feature in the YubiKey to allow you to authenticate that way. So those are just two different ways to use that hardware token.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
What would happen if that little chip or whatever the UB code is lost? What kind of compromising situation would our district be in?
So great question. So that's uniquely tied to the individual. So if it's lost, then it's just like losing your password or giving your password away. But that's why we call it multi-factor authentication. So now we have two methods. So in the scenario that was lost or stolen, we'd have to report that to my department, and then we would issue another one. So we would basically decommission the one that was issued to you and mark it as invalid, and then issue another.
And how quickly can it be replaced or terminated to be replaced?
It's the same as getting your password changed. So it's just another system, just another layer. Yep.
I will say, I have, like, my district has gone through this. I have a small, it's about this big. It's smaller, and it's on a key ring. And so I just have it on my district, or my, keys. And so if the computer, if I've timed so that it's time or I'm entering something that requires another check-in level, I either slip it in the USB or I can tell the computer that I want it to call my phone. And it does it like that, or text my phone. I can set it up for my classroom. It's set up for my classroom phone. It's set up for my cell phone. And it, on the one hand, it does slow you down. And there are times where you sit there and go, where is that thing? But I have options. And it is that one extra step. And the one extra step that means I'm the one in my stuff, nobody else is in my stuff. That's like, it's a good protection layer for us. So, Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
I think that this is something very important for our district to invest in. I've spoken so much about the cybersecurity, and I come back every single time that I go for delegate assembly or every time I go to the CSBA, and this is something that they majored as a major focus. I just came back again from my delegate meeting on Monday, and one of the topics of discussion again is cybersecurity. So thank you for bringing this forward. I know you make some pushback, but I think in the long run, it will pay dividends for our district to invest in it, because other districts, or even our neighboring district, has had a breach in their district and where they have had to invest in getting out of the situation. So fortunately, we have not, but we don't want to be in that situation because it has affected many districts, and we want to be preventative. And so if we don't invest in it now, we're going to invest in it later on. So it's very important that we're being proactive and reactive. So thank you.
Welcome.
Trustee Tomei?
Couple of things. So is this something that would prevent what happened in our neighboring district?
So this is one step in a number of strategies that we have to take. So we're working on, it's called identity management in the background. So the staff is actually working on that now to kind of transition in the background. This is the kind of the underlying infrastructure thing, so we know who's who in our district. And so we're going through an inventory process right now, so we know which devices are there, which staff members are who, and what devices they use. So it's kind of a multi-layered approach. And so this is probably the most impactful as far as what actually impacts employees and what you will actually see from the board members to kindergarten teachers. Everybody's going to be impacted because this is something that we have to do.
Oh, I agree. I'm noticing too, just with these two items, this one and the next one, we're talking $78,220.51, and you said that there could be more.
So these are, I think we're hitting the kind of must-do items up front. I don't think they're too much now. But these are things, they're actually insurance requirements. I hate mentioning that because I don't want to do something to check the box. These are things that, from my standpoint, we do as a responsibility to protect the safety of our student and staff data. So there may be more.
Okay, you've been warned. I trust you. I know you know what you're doing.
Thank you.
Trustee Benbar Castaneda?
So I know that we're going to see big ticket items going forward, and I know that we're going to be probably warned and we're going to be scared as a board, but it's an investment that we need to make for our district. We've seen in the news about the medical field has been hit numerous times. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is because it's constantly being stressed from in the education world. So again, I think that this is something that is very important for us, and it's stressful for us to see this as the dollar amount, but we're doing it at the back end rather than the front end where we lose control, and then it's what, 5 times, 100 times the amount that we would have to pay, and we don't have the control, and we pay whatever we're told to pay. This, we have the control, and we're being able to dictate what we're wanting to pay and what we want to invest in to make some upgrades and some strengthening in our system, as opposed to, hey, can you give me my stuff back? You know? So I think that we're doing the right thing, and again, thank you for your expertise and getting us back on track. So.
Thank you.
Dr. Kraft?
Yes, I did want to share with the board and remind you that in the LCAP, there is a large section, an action plan around technology, because we did go one-to-one, and we do have an obligation in terms of our family, our staff, including all of us up here, in maintaining that data. So there are allocations for funding, knowing that these are steps that we were going to have to take as we get further into the digital world.
Off the top of your head, do you know, I'm sure you do, what a standard ransom costs when somebody has stolen information?
It's millions of dollars because they have everything and they're not going to give it back. So that's why the requirements for the cybersecurity insurance has risen. So, and that's why it's, to get the better premiums, the better rates, we have to do these things. So these are things that only geeks talked about in the past, but now we're talking about it in school board meetings because it doesn't matter if you're as large as San Diego Unified or as small as National or Del Mar, it doesn't matter. The bad threat actors out there are just looking at how can I get in and retrieve information that I can sell. So it doesn't matter the size of the district. So it's a totally different playing field than when I started in this 20 years ago when we produced a list of everyone's passwords and we carried it around to every site. And if we lost the list, we just lost the list. We just can't operate like that anymore. So it's very important that we take these steps and we're proactive and we're not in a situation where we have to be reactive. It does not mean that a breach will not happen. I'll never get up here and say that because I can't guarantee that. What we want to do is we want to put in as many layers as we can. And so you think about physical security and unfortunately things that happens with school shootings, they go in through open doors. So we're closing a door that exists right now.
Trustee Lasada.
Thank you. Just to add to that one, the cost of the loss of the morale and the employment and the unsafeness of vulnerabilities is priceless. So I think this investment is a great investment, and I'm glad that you were able to find out a good price for us. So it will be a very good protection that we have for all of us, because some of us use our personal phones too, and we become even more vulnerable and increases the vulnerability out there for all the teachers that sometimes they use their personal phones. So thank you for bringing that up, and I'll piggyback on that.
Any other questions, comments? Dr. Kraft?
And just with respect to that, we really do not, we encourage people to use district devices or district pieces. We really do not encourage people to use their personal phones.
So that would be a great call.
All right, then I have a motion to approve by trustee Lasada and a second by trustee Sarmiento. Please vote.
Passes unanimously.
All right. Item 10G is to approve the purchase of the Adlumin MDR cybersecurity operations platform from Borderland Security. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Dr. Kraft? Mr. Cossey?
So this product is, I feel, one of the most important steps that we're going to take in protecting the school district. So you'll hear it's in the technology world, MDR, which is managed detection and response. So it's becoming a generic term. And what that means is someone else is now responsible for taking all of the events from your technology infrastructure. And this is why the inventory is very important, to know what assets we have out there. And so, and then we have to get, what you typically call antivirus. Remember that term, antivirus, on those endpoints, which are the computers that people use. And anything that happens on those devices, including emails and servers and the routers and things that we're responsible for managing, it feeds events, failed logins, any anomalies that happen back to a system. We're a small 7-person department. We're not going to ingest all that and figure it out and say, yes, we're right on this at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not going to happen. And so what happens is these services, the MDR services, what they do is a 24/7 service for our district. These are things that we couldn't even talk about 20 years ago because it was too expensive. These are things that the Department of Defense did, and it was like that level. And now, as a school district, because it's so important, we have to have these type of services. And so what happens as you're utilizing the internet and you're browsing things and you get this message in your inbox, it sounds so great. You're going to help kids in Africa drink water. And you say, yes, I'm going to pledge to this. And next thing you know, everything's compromised. So what Adlumin does is it goes and recognizes your daily patterns, and it knows that if Dwayne logs in, he normally logs in from California, not Seattle, not Russia. And so if they start seeing those different things, it immediately takes action, stops it before anything happens, and notifies us.
Okay.
So through machine learning and artificial intelligence. So using the technology to help us be more proactive. So the other side of that is as we go through these systems, that's one piece of it. There's other systems like systems, which I'm sure you've heard from different trainings, there's vulnerabilities out there. So it's one of the responsibilities of the technology department is to know what assets you have and to provide patches and updates and those type of things. So this system also allows us to do that. Another thing it allows us to do is what's called penetration testing, which is testing your systems to see how vulnerable you are. Can you actually break into your own systems from the outside of the network? So this system has a unique AI-generated penetration testing system where it not only tries to break in, but it documents the strategy it used to get there. So you can then learn from it and then apply policies to it to prevent it. So it allows us to do that twice a year. So instead of paying, 65 grand for someone to come in and do it, I felt it was the best decision to start with this and to just make sure we could all sleep well at night to know that we had something that was watching over us. Since I was sitting in this meeting, I've had an alert come through that's email related, and it goes to myself and Mr. Finch in my department, and we get these messages, and we don't have to take action because they've already taken action, and it explains the action that they've taken. And then we can come in safely at 7 in the morning and either verify it or release it as a false positive or confirm it and take action. So these are the type of systems that we need in districts, and in every district. If you talk to your colleagues in different districts, they're doing similar things because these are the things, the strategies, and it goes back to the insurance requirements. This is another requirement. So you'll hear it called MDR, you'll hear it called XDR, which is extended detection and response, which that just means there's things on the endpoints, the computers that you use that report back to something. So it's an important strategy to make sure that we're covered from a cybersecurity standpoint, and that you don't have to have 20 of me or 20 of Justins out there. You can have the same staff you have, and other systems are working for you, and it's a fairly low cost for what they do.
Trustee Sarmiento?
That begs another question. I access my school district email at home on my desktop. Are we gonna have those protections at home as well?
So what it's doing is it's protecting the system, not your home system. It's protecting your access for the systems that the district provides, which can be reached from anywhere in the world. So 24/7. So when you log in, it doesn't matter if it's from a phone, from a neighbor's computer or public library, it doesn't matter. It's going to make sure that your account is secure and is monitoring your account activity.
Okay, so via the account, not the actual device.
Not the device. In a personal scenario. In a district scenario, is monitoring both.
Any other questions? I appreciate the component of looking at network vulnerabilities. I know at one point my district was testing, basically sending out test emails to staff to see who was actually responding to them. So I hate to say sucker alert, but it kind of, was that kind of thing of some of those that grab our attention, and that we then are like, wait a minute. And we open something up because we are wondering what bill we owe. And then when it was like the response was sent back and said to IT to say, so some of your teachers are still doing this, please talk to them. That's real. And so I'm thankful that it does include some assessment of vulnerabilities, because that's, we need the constant training. We need, we have, I think, all gotten past the Nigerian prince emails that came out 10, 15 years ago, right? But things are getting so nuanced now. And, you know, not that long ago, my parents received a phone call saying my brother had been in a massive car accident and somebody had paid the $500. Could you send me? Well, my dad got on the phone, called my sister-in-law, and she said, no, here he is, I'll put him on the phone.
Wow.
So, I mean, there are constant things coming up. Whether it's that type of thing, whether it's our email hacking. So thank you for seeking these out for us. Dr. Brady.
Quick question. If somebody were to log into your computer from another computer, like they had your Apple ID or something like that, or had a two-factor authentication, would this catch that?
It would. So this is the fail-safe to when those things fail. So the system, so backing up to the system we just previously talked about, the multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication's successful logins and failures and attempts, or one of those systems that are logged in and ingested by the MDR solution. And so if it notices strange behavior, then it reports it. And so, which has already happened in our trial with district staff. So we've had to reach out to people and say, are you in Mexico? And it's none of our business, but because it's the network and it's been identified, we have to check. So we have to check, is it legitimate business or is it, you know, a threat actor doing something malicious or attempting to do something malicious?
And then it would be able to alert you? Can it then protect you in terms of identifying the person that was logging in, or the computer, or the IP address that's logging in, and that kind of stuff?
It does. So the simple alert that it sends you has all that information in it. Has the IP, it has the location. A lot of times it'll give the provider, if you're logging in you're in Oregon and you're on whatever Comcast network or that they may have, it'll give all that information. So again, this is the backup to that system that we previously discussed.
Trustee Bencor Castaneda.
So when we travel for business, should we let you know ahead of time?
No. So you do business as you normally do business. And so what happens is it learns your patterns, what's normal. So what's not normal is for you to work here, log in Houston, log in Japan, then go back to Oregon, all within 1 hour. So it's similar to how banks identify credit card fraud, that your card has been compromised. Sometimes you get those calls and they want you to verify that it's you and that you made those expenses, and you have to go through and verify the last 3 purchases. So this is a similar thing. So when we see those and it's too rapid at different locations, we've recently learned that some of the cell phone providers like AT&T may appear as if you're in another state. And that's why I keep mentioning the Pacific Northwest, because it happens a lot. It's because how they address their phones, the iPhone typically. So it appears that you're somewhere else, where you may be here in, East County. And so everyone just should do business as you normally do. And if there's an anomaly, it's going to point it out, because again, in that message that is sent to us, it says the normal behavior for L. Brady is this. And so we don't have to do anything. These are people. So it has AI doing some work, but then it has a human hand on their side in the security operations center that goes through and analyzes. So the security analysts are actually digging through those before it's sent to us. So they're working for us 24/7 to verify, is this a false positive, or is this something that we should send, or is it something we should send and notify them this is an escalation, because there's too many hops. It's impossible for a human to do that.
So if like one of the service provider gets hacked, you guys would pick up on it?
It should, based on the way the technology works, it should pick it up. So so when people say artificial intelligence, a lot of time it's the step before that, which is machine learning. So learning patterns, and then when it goes outside of those normal patterns, it's a red flag. So.
Any other questions?
I might have one.
Okay, trustee Lizardo.
Thanks for the PD.
Yeah, probably. Because I know some of the higher grades, they take the devices home, so how's gonna be providing this type of information to the parents? I don't know, it just pop up in my head. Because some of my son is in middle school, but sometimes he takes the device to home and do the homework. I know that you mentioned that the account where it's protected is not, because they use different routers, and that's what we need to protect. So,
right.
How that we, I don't know, some teachers may say, take the device, homework at home, complete it there.
Right, and again, we're looking at district assets. So the account itself is tied to a student or staff member in our district. So we're protecting those accounts and we're protecting those devices. So it's a good thing. It's not it's not at the level where it's looking at really what the details of what you're doing. It's the patterns of what you're doing to look for anomalies, for breaches, malicious intent. If you're all of a sudden going in and encrypting a large number of files or sending a large number of files out, that's usually a red flag that something is going wrong, and we want to stop it there. And so that's what this system does through that machine learning. It stops it, it just pauses it, and it says, hey, Dwayne, we think something's going on with this account.
Thank you. Kids get very savvy about technology. For my own experience, they go into things that they shouldn't be.
Yes.
So that's what it's concerning. I want to communicate on it. So thank you.
Yes.
All right, then we have a motion to approve the purchase by trustee Lizarraga and a second by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote.
Thank you for protecting us.
You're welcome.
All right, item 10H, to amend CT 3917 with the San Diego County Superintendent of Schools and National School District for the Creating Opportunities in Preventing and Eliminating Suicide Grant. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Dr. Kraft.
Yes, this is an extension of a grant that was approved by the board in 2022. The county office is looking to grow further interventions to prevent student suicide. It allows for parent workshops, student trainings, and staff professional development. It also extends the sunset of the grant an additional year and additional revenues of $10,000.
Questions? All right, then I have a motion to amend CT 3917 by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Sarmiento. Please vote. Item 10I, to approve CT 4230 with California Information Technology and Education Association for privacy services. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Dr. Kraft?
Mr. Fossey, would you like to go up and explain this to the board?
So this is, as you know, we use a lot of educational instructional applications for students, and then staff are associated with students, so they're in those systems and they manage them. So several years ago, State of California passed a law, I believe it's Assembly Bill 1584, and I believe the ed code is referenced there, that says that as a district, each district that it gets into an agreement for use of instructional software that students would use, that we have to go through a vetting process that it meets certain California laws. And it's basically, there's a lot of laws. So people, all kinds of privacy laws that came out of that era. And so the thing with the number of applications that we use, it's challenging to do that. Not every company wants to agree to do that because they're coming from different states and it's the first time they've ever heard of it. They don't want to do it. So what this service is the site organization who worked with a law firm to jointly produce a data sharing agreement that has become utilized statewide and has been adopted by a couple of other states. And so what this allows is for us to piggyback off agreements that other districts may have with software providers if we are not the first one in the state of California that they've contacted. If we're the very first ones, then we have to establish that agreement. Site does that. They work with the attorneys at that level to redline and adjust anything. And so they take that service and that burden away from us as a district. And so that we know that it's been properly vetted and is in accordance with the laws. And then it also provides a database where we can post that information online. So if parents are concerned with what applications we use and the amount of data, it says it right there. So we can provide that information out to parents and staff as well. But it doesn't prevent us from developing our own internal process, our own internal vetting process, which is something that we have to improve on before we send it off to them. So we still have to work on our internal process. I was just hoping that we could start with this service so we can kind of tease this out over time.
Trustee DeSantis.
Yeah, just a question briefly on the comments of the description for this item. It says this contract contract with the option of annual payment. The contract will be renewed on an annual prior renewal. So every year we're gonna see, I'm assuming, but I just don't wanna say that it is, but we review effectiveness and then we approve again. Because this is a 3-year contract, right? And it says it will be reviewed annual prior renewal. So you're gonna review if it's effective or not, and then we can renew again? Or it's gonna be for the whole 3 years?
It's so 3 years, 3 annual payments.
Okay.
Dr. Burke?
And yes, we can get out of the service
Okay.
at any time with a little bit of advance notice, so it is flexible that way. And I would just add from a business perspective, the California's Student Data Privacy Agreement that is used by site, it's the standard that I'm looking for. I read every contract that we get into, and that is the level of standard that I'm looking for when I'm reviewing a contract. So I support that 100%.
All right, thank you. Just for clarification, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda, second by trustee Sarmiento. Please vote.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Item 10J is to approve CT 4237 with Department of Healthcare Services and San Joaquin County Office of Education for data sharing. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second motion.
Dr. Kraft?
Yes, we currently participate in the LEA BOP program, which is a reimbursement program for services provided by our service providers for students that are eligible for Medi-Cal. This is a requirement to be part of the LEA BOP program, and it adds a third party, the Department of Health and Services. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. But it allows that exchange of information to happen and add that third party. It is a requirement to participate in the program, so we're bringing this to the board.
And for clarification, the billing of Medi-Cal eligible services often falls under IEPs, correct?
Generally, yes.
Okay. All right, so that when we do the assessment portion of an IEP, that we can actually bill Medi-Cal for.
Yes, as well as additional services that they may be providing. Our service providers already do the work, so part of integrated, but this contract would focus on adding that third party for the LEA.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda, second by trustee DeSarga. Please vote. Item 11 is human resources. There is nothing that they are bringing to us tonight. Item 12, business services. 12A, to approve the purchase of an EV Ford van for the transportation department. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second discussion.
Dr. Burke?
Yes, this would be our first EV van. We have a need for increased variety in our fleet and an increased vehicle. We need another vehicle desperately because of the increased ridership, both due to non-public assignments. So if there's a special education which requires a specific programming that we don't provide, then we provide transportation to that program. And also our McKinney-Vento, when the student is found to be homeless or housing compromised, then they can receive transportation. And it can be very far. So if somebody was previously, say, all the way out in Ramona, and they moved here, but the family still wanted the student to be able to go to school in Ramona, and they're relatively homeless here, you can be sheltered and still homeless. If you're, I'm sure you're up to speed on that. So if you're homeless, you can still, we're responsible for getting you out to Ramona, and Ramona is responsible for getting you back here, or vice versa. It's a shared responsibility. So it's a serious responsibility and an expensive one, to be quite frank. In this case, we're trying to preserve some funds by using an EV vehicle, which will, traverse those long distances without racking up the big gas prices.
Trustee Bencourt Castaneda?
That was actually my question. I just wanted for full transparency that we weren't just buying a van to drive around town. Wanted to make sure that it was being utilized for the use of our students, and you just answered the question, what was the purpose of the van? So that, I just wanted for the public to hear the purpose and what the expenditure was, because for full transparency. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Motion to approve purchase by trustee Sarmiento, second by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote. Item 13 is board workshop. 13A, to review and discuss suggested revisions and updates to board policies, administrative regulations in Exhibit D. So, here we go. We have Administrative Regulation 5113 regarding absences and excuses. There was an update by the California School Board Association from here on out, CSBA. In March of 2023, the action recommended is to revise. Again, absences and excuses. The policy provides criteria for acceptable excused absences and verification methods for student absences meeting authorized absences. Discussion? Okay. Board policy 5116.2. Title, involuntary student transfers. CSB update was December 2023. Action is to revise. Involuntary student transfers requires district to develop and implement involuntary transfer policies for students that are non-discriminatory and use recommended best policies. Any questions? Okay, moving forward. Board policy 5117, title interdistrict attendance. CSB update June 2023, action to revise. Interdistrict attendance. Revised policy incorporates additional language of permits for coursework due to impacting factors related to such things as staffing and programming. Any questions? Administrative Regulation 5125 regarding student records. CSB update December 21, action to revise. Again, student records updates language and protocol regarding how to request student information and who has access. Also updated language on process for name and gender change of students while still in the K-12 school system. Do we have questions? Board policy 5131.2, bullying. And administrative regulation 5131.2, bullying. The CSB update was December 2023. Action is to revise bullying. Updates language on definition of what is bullying, and new laws which encourages districts to develop restorative practices for students re-entering school post-bullying encounters. Questions? No questions, but I am going to make a formal request for a bullying presentation, please, because we do need to clarify, and especially if we're revising policy on what that is, we need to be sharing that with people. And that one specifically is something that happens too often. Thank you. Back to this. Go ahead.
Sorry, request to do that presentation in December since we have a full docket next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Administrative Regulation 5131.41, use of seclusion and restraint. CSB update March 2023, action to revise. Again, use of seclusion and restraint. Updates language to reflect current court regulations from December 2022 that clarifies the time and use limitations of using behavioral constraints and seclusions, and new requirements to document incidents when seclusion or constraints are used. Questions? I would like an update as well on CPI training, how regular it is occurring, and who it's offered to and who has it, please. Okay, and I'm being told we'll put that in the memo because Dr. Kraft does have that information. Board Policy 5141.21, administering medication and monitoring health conditions. CSB update, March 2024, action to revise, again, administering medication and monitoring health conditions. Authorizes the administration of medication to a child and allows students to carry and self-administer medication needed for certain medical conditions with written requests from the student's parent, guardian, and authorized healthcare provider. Questions? I have a regular concern about EpiPens being in the offices instead of with students. So, yes, if we can have that, like that level of emergency with medications addressed, I'd appreciate it.
A clear plan. Will be.
A clear plan.
A clear plan to all the parties, including the parent.
Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5141.31, immunizations. Revision CSB update, the CSBA update December 2020, action to revise. Immunizations, updated language on immunization requirements, timelines, and exceptions to these requirements. Questions? Board Policy 5141.5, Title Mental Health, CSBA update June 2023, action to revise. Mental Health, policy update language expands training and proactive communication to families and students regarding mental health resources. The language notes the mandates, school sites serving 6 to 12 grades to posters. Hey. Questions? Sorry. I'm just gonna ask.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5141.52, Title Suicide Prevention, CSBA update, June 2021. Action suggested is to revise, again, suicide prevention. Updated language specific on how to develop suicide prevention protocols, training, site district support teams, and communication to all community members. Policy also includes California Department of Education recommendations for employee training during onboarding and annually thereafter. Questions? Board Policy 5144, discipline. Also Administrative Regulation 5144. CSBA update, March 2024, action to revise, again, discipline. Safety of students and staff, along with providing necessary interventions and maintaining a positive school environment, are incorporated to determine developmental and age-appropriate discipline. When behavior issues occur, staff should identify causes and implement appropriate discipline. The impact on students' health, well-being, and learning should be considered in all disciplinary procedures. The administrative regulation provides an outline of site-level progressive disciplinary procedures. Questions? Administrative Regulation 5144.1, suspension and expulsion due process. CSB update, March 2023, action is to revise. Comments. This is new law. Suspension and expulsion due process. Updated language on what constitutes grounds for suspension and expulsion, which grade levels are applicable, who may suspend, and that a district is not authorized to suspend a student for certain specified violations unless other means of correction have failed to bring about proper conduct. Questions? All right, and our last one, AR 5144.2, suspension and expulsion due process with regard to students with disabilities. CSBA update, March 2023, action to revise. Again, student suspension and expulsion due process for students with disabilities. Updated language on the suspension and expulsion due process special procedures required when disciplining students who have been identified for special education and related services. Policy also notes procedures for manifestation hearings, provisions for foster youth, and American Indian students. Questions? This workshop will provide us with that opportunity to discuss policies and suggestions. Policy updates discussed in this workshop will be brought forward at a subsequent board meeting as to be considered for adoption. Item 14, Board Cabinet Communications. Trustee Sarmiento. Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
Just wanted to thank the students and congratulate them from Rancho de la Nacion for their presentation. And also the award recipient Erlinda from Rancho for her award Volunteer of the Month. Welcome to our new employees. Wanted to congratulate Mrs. Castaneda and all her team for a well put together parent summit last weekend. These days are all together for me now. I didn't get to hear the whole presentation, but I heard a lot of wonderful things on the motivator speaker. A lot of work got put into that, so thank you to her and her team. Was able to attend the Salute to the Navy. Also, not this weekend, next weekend is the CABE mini conference. Although I'm not able to attend the conference, but I will be sharing my talent with decorating, so I will be there partially in spirit. And I was able to attend the anti-bullying walk at El Tayon. So it was very well attended. Thank you to Samantha for taking me. And thank you, Dr. Brady, Dr. Kraft, and all of our principals, and CC for her presentation this evening. A lot of work, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, was put into the presentation. So again, thank you. It was, I loved the fact that our principals and everybody were here to present, very personal, and it was very meaningful. So thank you, whoever made that suggestion or whoever was volunteered that. But it is a very different dynamic. And apparently they were limited on time, but it's okay. It was a good time frame for us. But thank you to everybody for that. And I wanted to share, I was at a CSDA meeting, although I don't have to present because it wasn't a conference, but mental health keeps coming up everywhere we go. And it was something that was another presentation was shared. It was, we aim to bring hope, joined the movement. Brochure was left, and it was I guess it's she goes around and speaking to different groups, and it was very moving to me because it's a very personal thing to her, but she provides training to teens and also to parents. And I wanted to bring this to you, Dr. Brady, so that way we can have a conversation about bringing this maybe to our parents. It was very touching, and I don't want to say too much about it because I know we've been here for a very long time, so I can share it with you later. Because I think it's something that we can include or maybe offer to our parents, because it's the statistics that she provided to us. It was eye-opening and it was very sad. So it's something that I wanted to bring forward to our district, but there was also additional information that as delegate, they were wanting for us to introduce to our districts. So more information will be provided going forward. As soon as it gets disseminated to us, I will bring it forward. But her whole presentation will be shared to us digitally, so that way I can share that with you. But I want to pass that down. Her card is in there, but I'll give you more information about that after our meeting. But I also wanted to share a little bit of some sad news. Our CSBA, she's not our rep, but she used to be our caser, Maddox. She has officially resigned, given her 2 weeks for personal reasons. So she potentially will not be at AEC. They might do something for her if she decides to attend, but she will no longer be with the SBA. So if you know her personally, if you want to reach out to her, I'm pretty sure she would love to hear from you, but that's something that she was shared with us on Monday. So with that, hopefully everybody has a good night, and thank you to Mesme for being here just for me. Thank you for having me.
Trustee Lozada?
Thank you. I would like to congratulate the presenters tonight, and for all the principals. It was very nice to see the leadership that they do in the school and the pride that they take when they spoke about their students and the staff, and how the climate in schools is developed over these times. And we have new principals versus the principals that have a little bit more time with us. So it's nice to see that they're all committed to their students, and it was very nice to see that they celebrated every single achievement that they have for themselves and for the students. So thank congratulations to all the 5, and I can't wait to see the other set of the 5 that will be coming on the next meeting. So I would like to see give a shout out to the people who provide from the community about BCK, about how they do, what is what they do, and the Kitchenistas has a very good turnout on the last presentations that they've been doing. They noticed the group that presented to the parents, they're very happy that they see that turnout is much better than in implementing new strategies to get more attendance on the presentation. So they're very happy about that. So it's just a shout out to the leadership of the principals also, that they encourage the parents to visit those, because they're like crucial roles in how do you follow the nutrition to the home, and it's very nice to see that they're very happy about it. So thank you for that. And I would like to congratulate Ms. Tafoya. So and even though she was a little shy at the beginning, she ended up speaking to us, but we cannot thank you enough for all the volunteer time that all our volunteers at school has, and the welcoming environment that we're trying to encourage to all of them. And shout out to Dr. Brady for this big presentation. This is a very tough, personal for myself. So thank you for being. I know how thoroughly you think about this and how you presented that one, and seeing that well-being, because we all want to be okay. We all want to be eager to learn more. But if a kid is not well, it's not going to learn. And if a parent is not well with the family, it's not going to do well anywhere. So thank you for being in that, and you don't know how committed all the staff is doing on this. And from you, from the cabinet, from the services, from the sensory guardians that we have, from the maintenance operations people that they brought us facilitations to them so they can access to every single thing we have at school. So we're very well invested, and I'm proud that we bring that forward, and it's just a reality. And now the students can use the amenities that we have. So congratulations to all the principals, as I said, and we can now wait to celebrate even beyond that. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Trustee Bencourt Castaneda.
I just wanted to add a thank you to Dwayne for his first board meeting and
rocky.
presenting, and for all his expertise. So for his presentation here tonight. So thank you also. Thank you.
Five. Dr. Burke.
Yes, I just wanted to, the salad recipes came up during the course of the meeting. They can be found on the district website under the Child Nutrition Services page, and it's on the left side under the label Kids Recipe Contest. 10 different salads. You can print down the whole recipe book from all the winners from all the schools. Thank you.
Dr. Keppel.
I just want to welcome the new employees and welcome to the NSA family. I want to thank Dr. Brady for her presentation. I'm proud to see all the wonderful things we're doing in our district. And I was wondering, how does she have time to write that report and put that together?
I was wondering, this is a big book.
And then I want to thank the Rancho de la Nacion students, and congratulations to Ms. Erlinda Tafoya for all that she does at Rancho. I want to thank Dr. Kraft, the principals, Ms. Cece Garcia, and the student services team for their presentation. They did a nice job. And thank you to the board for renewing my employment contract. And thank you to Mr. Costi for being here and keeping us safe. And then last but not least, happy Halloween.
Yeah. Dr. Kraft.
Thank you. Minor repeats. I want to thank the Rancho students and our Shine Volunteer of the Month, our leadership team. I really enjoyed watching that collaboration together. The principals, CC, Mr. Costi, Dr. Brady. And I want to shout out and thank the Ira Harbison staff. We had an amazing visit on Tuesday and saw a beautifully kept campus and fabulous instruction. So it was wonderful.
Dr. Brady.
Yes, as I mentioned to the board in one of my recent updates, the Blue Shield of California Promise Health Plan leading the way reached out to let us know that National School District will be getting a leadership award on November 21st at 5 p.m. In addition to me and David Castillo, they are allowing us to bring 2 additional guests. So we'll be inviting our board president and clerk. It's going to be at the Prado in Balboa Park, but we'll also bring it back and do a presentation here at the governing board meeting. But it is for leadership during the January floods and how we've supported our community. So we're excited to receive that award. Tonight's presentations from the principals, I think we get spoiled on our site visits. And I just want to invite all of the board members I know a lot of you reach out and do come to the schools, but keep reaching out if there's any schools from the presentations that you want to go and see again, or just give me a call and we'll get you set up and we'll go over there. I want to say congratulations to Dr. Kevin. Thanks for wanting to stay with us. Excited to have you at least through 2028. I want to say happy Bosses Day to the board. Thank you for the support that you provide to me as a superintendent. I do appreciate it. And happy birthday to Trustee Betancourt Castaneda.
All right. Quickly, thank you to all the presenters. Everybody else has said it, so I'm gonna stop there. Thank you as well, the Parent Summit and Resource event at Oliver. I got to be there at the end of that. That was very cool to see our community members coming and then sharing with their families. So thank you to the team that all put that together. Also, I had the opportunity to go to our Little Red Schoolhouse. And if that's not the coolest place to hang out with some really little people, I don't know what is. So thank you to them for allowing me to invade their space and time. And yes, happy birthday. And with that, meeting adjourned.